everybody, welcome to the Popcast Unleashed. Yes, we have been demonetized. Just a reminder.
Wait, is that what we're going to lead with every week now? It's like we have to wait all the way till October for this?
I just really wanted to make sure we had a demonetized intro. So I put the effort in.
Is that what that... I didn't... Is that the new one?
Yeah, you missed it.
Is that a different one? Oh,
yeah, no, you missed it. That's right. I'll show you it next time. Anyways, welcome to the Thursday stream, everybody. My name is Brian, that is Shane, and you are watching the Popcast Unleashed every Thursday around this time. Shane, how you doing today, brother?
Doing okay. It's been an interesting week. Got a new kid starting high school, so it's been pretty busy this morning, but I'm really glad to be here with you guys and looking forward to talking about all kinds of crazy stuff going on right now.
So what we are talking about today, in case you weren't aware of it, yes, we are talking about Star Trek, which we usually do, but this is an interesting day because today there's no Star Trek to talk about. So there's an upcoming Star Trek drought happening. That's what I'm calling it, the Star Trek famine. And we're going to be discussing that and what's next, especially with the writer's strike and all that. Also, BARBIEGEDON! We lost an insane amount of support because of our Barbie video.
Well, and all for about 2,000 views.
Right.
Which is really pathetic considering. And we're going to go all into that and how today is going to be an interesting day because there's a little bit of hopelessness in the air.
Right.
And I hate to say that, but there is this, and we'll explain it more, but whether it comes to Star Trek and just, societal things happening and it's a little bit of a downturn right now.
We are talking also about Snow White because Rachel Zegler is just unleashing a
titled crazy person,
a madness upon her parent company, Disney. Also, Linus Tech Tips is on fire right now, and if you follow Linus Tech Tips, that's an interesting thing. I actually have some. I normally wouldn't even bring up something that was like sort of YouTube related, except for when I built computers, I worked directly with Arc Technology, which was where Linus came from. So I know a little bit about Linus, and that's an interesting thing going on. Also,
why is it interesting? Like, this sounds like a very specific Brian thing.
So no, it's not. It's not.
Did we decide we're going to torture everybody with?
It's not. You know what? 30 million people have watched the video, so I think that it's not specific to Brian. But I understand how you would think that.
Brand new AMD processor.
No, it's not that.
I'm doing my Robert Meyer Burnett voice.
I'm fixing
my brand new AMD processor.
My camera's all messed up.
I've been watching too much R&B.
Shane is always like really far down in his chair, and I don't know why. There he goes. There it is.
I haven't moved. I'm just letting you guys know.
In
3 years.
You don't move, but apparently your entire set does, and I have to fix myself every single stream. Also, I got to see Blue Beetle, and I thought I wasn't gonna like it, and there's a lot to actually talk about there. So we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. My kids are doing something called Summer Blast, which is basically another way for the school to get money from parents. That's what it is.
Well, that's the problem with the types of school your kids go to.
Right. So now I still have to take my kids to school as if it's school time, which is like the hardest thing for parents is like the taking and picking up of, so now I have to do that, and I have to pay additionally for it, and it's fun. It's fun. It's all fun. Love it. Good times.
Somebody must be watching over
there. I'll tell you this. When it comes to the Blue Beetle, just so that no one checks out, because I know some people are going to check out on the Blue Beetle stuff. Don't check out. It's worth the time. It's worth the few minutes I'm going to dedicate to it, and I think it's worth it.
Yeah, don't check out at all. Just stick around.
Yeah, stick around. Speaking of sticking around, we have been demonetized, and our little pirate ship that is the Popcast Unleashed is still floating, regardless of YouTube's attempts at cannonballs across our bow, because of a little thing called Streamlabs. And I put the comment, thank you, Joe. I pinned it into the chat, and then you can also find it at the top right of the screen. Or you can just go to yourself over to streamlabs.com/the Popcast live or popcast.co. and it's pretty cool. You can communicate with us there, do super chats, and you can even see the chat. It's pretty rad. And
who's that guy there? If you can go back again, who's the guy on fire on the thumbnail?
That's Linus.
That's the tech guy.
That's the tech guy. Yes.
I mean, I'm really on pins and needles for this whole thing. I'm so excited because apparently something huge has happened for him to be the center of our thumbnail.
You're not excited. And,
I mean, I have no idea what it is, so I kind of am.
I can see that you're completely full of it right now.
Did he like have a heart attack on stream or something?
No,
great.
No, he didn't have a heart attack on.
I don't know. Like 30 million people. Well, actually, a lot of people watch his videos, I think. Anyways.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. Anyways, okay. So before we get into that, though, I did want to say that Stream Hero is working today. I think it actually works again with Streamlabs, so we're back in action there. And we'll be monitoring the members section as well. And I'm finally going to do this because I have my notes in front of me. We're going for at least one new member today. Just one.
Whoa, you said it. You said it. You have to say 5.
Okay.
I'll tell you why you have to say 5.
The obligatory 5.
Sounds pathetic. Like one.
I just want to see
one new member today. Please, everybody. No, please, Kim. If we can get 5 new members, it'd be great. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. When we go to the member section today, we're just basically going to take our shirts off and be crazy.
We're not going to take our shirts off, but we will be crazy.
But emotionally, we'll take our shirts off for you.
Yeah. We lost a ton of members because of this Barbie video. It's pretty crazy.
It's so funny. I mean, well, it's not funny, but we're going to go all into it. It's going to be great. We've uncovered an entire underlying society of weird shit going on, and it's kind of sad in a way, but it's also like interesting to note where like culture is going right now. And just be prepared because there is castration involved in it, and we'll be talking about that.
In the member section, Chappie says, while you're demonetized, your logo should have patches over one of each eye.
Just be like, you should put them in hobo clothes.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna change our logo for next week for each of us to have one eye patch.
Well, that just makes us look like pirates. You should put us in like poor people clothing. Like put us in trash bags or something like that.
No, pirates are poor, and they're going against the system. That's what we are. We're poor pirates.
Poor pirates. All right, I'll take it.
Okay, man. Anything else you want to go over? Who we got here today? We got some good folks here today. There's too many to mention.
Shout out to the chat. Appreciate all you guys being here. One thing Brian and I want to mention is that it does not go without notice how many of you support us on a weekly basis. And I got to tell you, it's heartening to see the same names over and over and over again. And the fact that you dedicate yourself to be here each week, it really means a lot to us. And for that reason, we make sure we have something really important to say to you each week. So just want to say that we appreciate all you guys for being here. So
yeah, really do. Yeah. That's what's gotten us through is just seeing the massive amount of support from especially our Discord. Like you can go to our Discord, discord.io/the Popcast. Links in the description, I'm sure too. And it's just it's a really fun place. It's a really enthusiastic and overwhelmingly positive place, and I really appreciate everyone that's given us
the week.
It really does. It gets us to the week.
It does. It's like, because right now, we used to do the multiple shows, and right now the Raw Rant show on Mondays is down until we're monetized again. And Brian and I right now are focusing on trying to get our Prime videos going. So I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, but when a video doesn't perform well, like Barbie, it's like 80 hours of work that's just down the drain.
Right.
So we're trying to get that going, and once we're monetized again, we'll bring back the Raw Rant with the panel show, and that'll be fun. Yeah,
the Raw Rant show pretty much costs us money, so we don't want to do stuff that cost a bunch of money. Okay. So speaking of which, actually that's a horrible transition, but I have no idea how to transition to this. Speaking of famine, I guess. Star Trek is in a load of trouble, in my opinion.
Okay.
First off, yes, the last thing we have coming up right now is the final season of Discovery. That is going to happen. But imagine this. Imagine in the next 5 to 7 years, the last thing you're going to see of Star Trek is the final season of Discovery.
Did you say 5 to 7 years?
At least 5 to 7 years.
No, it's not going to be that long.
Listen, if the strike lasts longer than September, then
it's not 5 years to the next show.
Well, it takes a few years just to get a show out.
Well, if you want to start a new show, it's going to take some time. But you're going to get Strange New World season 3. That's already started production.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, they started doing principal and writing scripts and everything.
Okay,
they have stuff created for that.
It's certainly not going forward right now. That's for sure.
No, but before the strike happened, it had already started its creation process. So that's going to be a matter of just getting everybody back in. So it's not going to be that long.
All right, let's say 3 years.
I'm going to say 2.
I think 2 years is being generous.
Well, that's how long it takes to create something and then get it out. So,
right, they're not going to drop it in August, though.
Well, if let's say the strike ends in September, that means that it's going to take through, Christmas time. So they would start in early 2024 up again, and that would mean you're probably going to get something at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026. So for Strange New Worlds, anyways. Now, if you're going to start something over from scratch, like let's say Starfleet Academy,
right,
which we're kind of hoping just gets sidelined,
right?
Yeah, this is a time when a lot of interesting things are happening in Star Trek. So, for example, if you guys haven't seen the Terry Matalas interview that he did on the Shuttle Pod show 2 Sundays ago, I believe. Fantastic. We have been with Terry so many times. We have interviewed him so many times, and yet I still learned so much about him during that interview. So he felt obviously comfortable to share, and it was really neat to hear him kind of talk about what's going on. But one of the things he said he's doing is he's writing. Okay. And now you can't write for the studio because everybody's on strike.
Right.
But as was indicated during that thing, that a lot of people who will be writing anyways for stuff that takes place after the strike is over. I don't know if that's kind of cheating in a way, but since they're not doing it for the studio to get paid, I guess they're doing it for themselves for future projects. So we what that means is that that the creation process won't stop just because the strike's going on. People are going to continue making things during this time. And so it's not like once the strike ends, everything starts from scratch. Oh, now we don't have any ideas. And, things are going to percolate during this time. And one of the hopes is that Paramount will come to their damn senses and realize that a Starfleet Academy is probably not going to make them the money that they need. And they need to follow up on Picard season 3 with that Star Trek Legacy show. So we're hoping that this kind of gives them time to let the idea sink in, let the money train kind of figure itself out. Ironically, Strange New Worlds season 2 was actually pretty popular on the streaming services. It got lots of views.
I saw that.
It's going to cause a weird thing to happen, I think, at Paramount. It's going to cause them to be a little confused as to what to do going forward. And sadly, that may strengthen Starfleet Academy as opposed to, put it down like we were kind of hoping. But we'll wait to see what happens. And I think that's all a part of the world is changing. I sent you a video, Brian, that was actually from Captain Robert April, a video he did. And I don't know where he got the footage, but he's got footage of Vic
Mignogna.
Mignogna.
I can't pronounce
it.
It's
so hard to say his name. Mignogna. And Vic is, in a lot of ways, I know there's that whole controversy with him back in the day, but Vic is an interesting character. He's a lot like us. And if you can, I'd like to play a little bit of what he's talking about, because he's talking to a crowd about kind of the same things that we're talking about. Kind of like the death of Star Trek in a way, and kind of how things are not going the way we want Star Trek to go. And they're not really interacting with him very well here. There's almost this sense of defeatism or sadness as he's talking to these people. And it's the feeling that I get lately that the people who truly care about the legacy of Star Trek are shrinking, and they're kind of not caring anymore. And the crowd of younger generation that is bringing the new Star Trek forward is getting louder. And so we're kind of, I feel like this voice is kind of dying a little bit. And so it's interesting. I thought we could play a little bit of this and talk about it.
All right. Thank you, Captain April. Admiral April or whatever.
Yeah, that was cool. It was one of his videos. Go check him out.
Definitely. Yeah, okay. Here we go.
You can hit the red button here. Here.
Recent Star Trek TV shows, movies. No, it's the Federation itself. It's some admiral in Starfleet who turns out to be the baddie. Look what they're doing. They're totally undermining the idea of Star Trek. That humanity has come together and risen above their petty differences. And they're ripping the soul out of it. To say, oh, you know who the real bad guy is? It's those people in charge of the Federation and Starfleet. So there goes that future, right? So a lot of, even now, like
They're looking
at
people on their
don't tell
phones.
me.
Like people are on their
Live my life,
phones,
right?
like
This is just
they're
my
rubbing
opinion.
their heads.
And if you
know,
have a
there's
different one, I love you anyway. And we'll be
a
friends.
lot of I don't give a shit going on.
But I watched some episodes of some of the recent Star Trek series. I won't even tell you which ones. And I sat there with my buddy Jeff, and we were watching it. We're going, this looks like a scene out of Star Wars.
Look at this guy on the right.
It's
right
dark.
here. This
It's
guy right
drab,
here.
It's dirty.
Watch.
Not even. They're like, you know, it just, there was nothing, and there was so much darkness in the personalities, in the behaviors,
Like
in
when
the
Vic starts talking to him, he
attitudes,
starts
in the
not
motivations.
looking at him. Looking away, looking down. He's like on his
Star
phone.
Trek is dead.
Look at this guy over
Star
here
Trek
laughing.
as we knew it. Some of us older people. That Star Trek is gone.
Sounds like an old man yelling.
It's
in
unfortunate,
the
but I guess again,
Hang on,
lawyers, right, we talked about that. I guess the people that run these studios have decided they can make more money.
Dude, no one there
taking,
gives a
you
shit.
know,
No, look at this guy in the
Good
back.
guys,
He's got his
bad
head down
guys.
and laying down.
ruining everything that was good, ripping to shreds something that was positive.
Dude, Vic has gotten a lot of
pure,
face surgery.
hopeful.
He's got to stop
Let's
doing that.
bash it against the rocks and let's make it.
What'd you say?
He's looking good.
What are you talking about? It looks like
He's
a
like a
lizard.
miniature version of
Sorry, that's unfortunate.
of
You
the
know what's
bad
really
guy.
sad?
from
People
Rant.
get
Is
too
if
many
you go and
facelifts,
look
they look like a lizard.
At a list of like
They
do.
movies of all
In this-
time,
in this-
so many of them are wonderful, uplifting,
That's
I
what
don't
they
think
look
he
like.
looks that way.
positive.
They look like a lizard.
Because that's what I think people want.
I really want to look younger, so.
There's enough crap
Right.
in your normal life, am I right? Do you
This is
really
where the
wanna make
lizard
movies about
people
crap?
conspiracy comes from.
No, you want to
looks a hell of a
escape
better
the
movie.
crap. You want to.
He looks better than we do, that's for sure.
Big, and you want to.
Maybe I need a facelift.
something
I don't
large
criticize.
and grand and beautiful and hopeful. But they just keep making them more trash.
He just goes on for like how long, dude?
I don't know how long it goes.
I
but
watch-
I don't think it's that long. It's like 5 minutes.
All right.
But
well,
the whole
first off,
point is-
thank you, Captain April, Robert April.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was at some anime conference, I think.
Bro, he went on for like he goes on for like 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes, and isn't a peep from the
Well,
crowd.
He's got this energy in the beginning that's like everybody's going to be like, yeah, right. And the first time nobody goes, yeah. In fact, nobody is like dead silence when he gets to the end of his thing. You can just his steam kind of slowly rolls up, and then he becomes almost apologetic for his
Right.
point of view.
Right.
And it's like just this sad thing to watch. And I feel like when I saw that, I'm like, that is exactly what's happening to legacy Star Trek right now.
Right.
The fight is dying because people are realizing that there's no point in fighting anymore because nothing's going to change.
Yeah, it's an unwinnable battle.
It's an unwinnable battle. It's
Right.
that moment when, and I hate to say it because I'd like to keep the faith that it will return to what it used to be, but I just don't think it will. And with the new universe timeline that was created during Strange New World season 3, I think at some point they're probably going to just lean into that and be like, well, you know, they've got this whole different tonal universe going on. I was watching Arena for this video. I wanted to see the Gorn and go back and watch TOS and see how that whole story went down again, and kind of like compare it to Strange New Worlds. And because right now Brian and I are doing a video based on what you guys requested, which was, kind of a breakdown of all 3 Star Trek universes.
Yeah.
And
the
all the
differences
different,
we're in. Yeah.
yeah, the disparities and the differences. And so I'm watching Arena and I'm like, Star Trek is such a serious show.
Right.
Like the intense, Kirk is like about to be killed by this Gorn. It's just a very intense and serious show. And then when you match it up to the tone of like Strange New Worlds, which is like one week is super ridiculously supposed to be funny, and then one week is serious, and like this it doesn't know what it wants to be tonally, and it causes a little bit of, it just causes Trek to be something different.
Right.
And so there does have this feeling of, Star Trek not really, if Star Trek Legacy were to happen, for example, if we were to get a continuation of Picard season 3 and all that, it's not going to happen until way after the strike. So you're right. That's one of those projects that would actually take a lot of time to go.
Right.
So, if the strike ends after Christmas, and honestly, I still think the studios are going to stretch that out as long as they can. The longer the studios can go without locking something in, is the more money they're going to save not creating new content. And right now, every week that goes by, the studios are going further into the black, which is helping their stock price numbers and all those kind of things. So they don't want to make new content right now.
Right.
There's already a ton of content out there for people to go watch. If you're not Brian, who seems to be able to watch everything as it comes out right away, and you're like the rest of us, you're going to be able to watch content for the next 2 years and watch new stuff, no problem.
All right.
So I don't think there is a big hurry.
I don't think that's completely accurate, though.
What do you mean?
I think that for, you have a lot of stuff to catch up on, but there are people that have no interest in watching, like, say, Silo, which is what I've started watching recently. Or some of these like darker shows. Like they're very specifically fans of certain things, and those things are not going to be coming back in any real way for a very long time. And
yeah,
they might go try to find other things that scratch that itch. But I gotta tell you, I just finished watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with my kids, and it's the 3rd time I've watched that series all the way through. That series scratches the Stargate itch. But when I want to watch a show like Stargate, I can count on one hand how many shows are like Stargate. And when those shows have stopped and they've concluded, and there's no new content for those shows and or Stargate, that itch is left to be scratched. And you can only go back and watch, Stargate Atlantis so many times before, like, all right, well, I've watched it 17 times. I don't need to watch it again. I've watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 3 times. I've watched all of Dark Matter 5 times. I've watched these shows so many times, like, I don't need to watch them again for a long, long time. What's next? Well, the majority of the newer content is not that hopeful, inspirational science fiction that we want to watch. It's not Stargate. It's not The Next Generation or Voyager or Babylon 5 for some of you. It's not that hopeful, futuristic, world-building thing that we're looking for. Instead, it's sort of dystopian. It's set in a future that is very slow, and it's a grind to get through those shows because of how different they are from that hopeful, inspirational future we're looking for. The Expanse scratched that itch a little bit for me. But then it also went into themes that were so dark and so slow and so hard to get through that I found myself just waiting to get back to the inspirational team building part of it. Because I realized what I'm interested in is the heroics of science fiction. I don't really care so much about the dystopian future in 150 years when Earth is a desert and we're, mining planets and we're subjugated to a species, unless you're going to tell me that's the future and we're fighting for a better future. I don't want to watch 5 seasons of us just trying to survive under horrible conditions, which is what the majority of science fiction has turned into, some dystopian outlook, because a lot of the writers that are writing science fiction, they've bitten off the black pill, and they think that where we're going is a bad place ultimately. So there is no hopeful future in most of these shows. So if you want that scratch itched, how many times can you watch Star Trek: The Next Generation, DS9, Star Trek? I mean, listen, okay. I can only watch it so many times. Like, I've watched Voyager 25 times, all the way through. Okay, right now, if you said, hey, you want to go watch Star Trek Voyager? No, not really.
Well, you've probably just recently watched it, but like, for example,
I did. I just recently finished it, and I don't. What's next now?
Well,
I recently,
yeah. Well, I mean, I watched. Okay, so I was watching Arena, and I haven't seen TOS in a bit, and I was like getting into it. And one of the things that was really cool was like, there's a scene in Arena. So the Enterprise goes down to I can't remember the planet. It goes down to an outpost. They got this new outpost in this new area of the galaxy that we haven't been before.
Okay.
And the Enterprise is coming to check in. So they get this distress call. They want all the members of the main team to come down and basically visit with these people. So Kirk and Spock and everybody goes down there, and the place has been wiped out, right? Mm-hmm. And it's actually under attack because the Gorn are basically, destroying this outpost. So Kirk is on the communicator with Sulu, right? Sulu's in command, and he's like, Mister, protect the ship. And he's like, but sir, but captain, but you. He goes, I don't care about me. You protect my ship. If you got to leave, it's like the captain, the people, the characters that are in these shows. It's not just the hope, and the hope is a wonderful thing, but it's the amount of character determination and conviction that were written into these characters, that they have this higher belief, this thing that they believe in more than themselves. So a lot of the characters that are drawn out today are very narcissistic, self-inflecting characters. Right. We get that in Discovery and Strange New Worlds and in pretty much a lot of the new contents that made, because that's the kind of people that are being built today. Like, these are the human beings that are coming into the world. They're self-inflecting, narcissistic. But back then, when Star Trek was being written, it was really more of an outward-looking thing. Right. And so the characters were done in a way that made you inspired by them. Right. The problem is it's very difficult to find characters that you were inspired by. Even Silo, which Brian and I talked about, I do believe Silo is probably the best new show I've seen. I know I keep saying that. Apple TV is just killing it, man. I am so happy with Apple TV right now. I can't even tell you. Everything I watch is enjoyable. There's no agenda. Woo. So I'm watching Silo, and I'm realizing that Rebecca, totally just lost her, Rebecca Ferguson, who's the star of the show, she plays a very alien, Ellen Ripley type character. It's very strong female character, but for the reasons why female characters will be strong, it has nothing to do with their feminism. It just has to do with their actions. Like, right. She's talented, capable, tough, and that's what we like. And so I'm finding that character has these characteristics that I want to see in my characters, right? And so I'm compelled to watch that, and I think we're just missing that. So I think you're right to the degree that there's not enough hope. Thanks to the success of shows like The Walking Dead and a lot of dystopian dramas that have happened in the past, that's where our society is right now. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, there never has been a ton of hopeful shows anyways. Like, Star Trek has always been the hopeful sci-fi show.
Well, that you've seen. There's a lot of shows you haven't seen, which I envy you, because, like what? Well, like I previously mentioned, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, that to me isn't not what I'm talking about. That's not.
It's science fiction.
It's science fiction to some degree. I'm talking about, I guess, space science fiction. I'm talking.
Okay, well, space science fiction. You have like.
Is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a hopeful show?
Oh yeah, and they do go to space. The later seasons are done in space.
But SG1 was hopeful, I guess, to some degree.
SG1 was hopeful. Atlantis was hopeful.
To some degree, yeah.
There might have been dire circumstances, but there was
Right.
a plan.
There was hope. Right. You always knew that they were going to prevail.
Or at least you hope. Yeah, and you watched to figure out how. You know, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., when Coulson came on screen smiling after 3 of his teammates died or something crazy, and he has this like look about him where he's like, it just, at the end of the day, look, life is hard. It's hard. Things are hard. Work is hard. It's rough out there. And yeah, most of us live in the United States where it's not as bad as other places, but it's still rough going to work and bills and being broke and all the things and health issues and all the things that come along with just trying to be an adult. It's difficult. It's really difficult, which is why mental health services have popped up all over the place. These apps that are telling you to download them to talk to a physician now, for the love of God, those things will make you even more crazy than you were before. So, you know what? Turning on the TV and watching something where other people are struggling but smiling and prevailing through it is really important.
I think that's a good point.
And right now, right this minute, I know of no TV show in active development that fits that bill.
Well, no show is in active development.
I'm sorry, no show that hasn't been concluded or canceled. And it's, it's rough. Like, no, we had Picard season 3. Oh,
which wasn't a hopeful show.
It wasn't hopeful, but there was hope. There was hope.
Well, yeah. Once the series was ended, the Borg were destroyed, and there was hope for a new future. Right.
Right. It was a team of people that that looked into the abyss and didn't blink.
Right.
It wasn't a reflection of whatever writer was writing it and their 13 mental health apps that they installed that morning. So all I'm saying is, look, if you like Strange New Worlds, it's fine. Like, I'm glad. I'm glad people like it. I like season 1, season 2, not so much. There is very positive things about Strange New Worlds, and there are things that, for me, just don't track. There's definitely a positivity part of it, but it's shrouded in this like modern sort of agenda that is hard to get past. And it's just not as entertaining as I want it to be. Some people like dancing Klingons, I didn't. I thought it was just cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, if you were not to call it Star Trek and I were to throw it on, I've thought about this a lot. Like, if this wasn't Star Trek, and I'd probably watch it. Honestly, I probably would.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that makes it hard for me to watch Strange New Worlds is that I feel like it's assisting the destruction of Star Trek, in the way that I love it.
Right.
If it was a new show that came out, I would be like, oh, okay, this is somewhat entertaining. I wouldn't say that I love it. I haven't fallen in love with the characters. They really haven't given me a reason to fall in love with them yet. But I would say that, I would fall in like, for sure. And about the mental health thing, I just want to make a comment about this because I really give this a lot of thought lately. I've noticed, especially with my kids, that, I have 5 kids and they range in age from 24 all the way to 10. And I've noticed that they are, a lot more anxious than I remember generations of kids before, or myself.
Right.
Very anxious about things. They're very stressed out very easily. They're very, they have a hard time processing stuff. And what I'm starting to realize with all of these electronic devices and everything that we're looking at like 24/7, the one thing that's missing, I don't remember what I was watching. I was watching the Brady Bunch. That's what it was. Okay. I had the Brady Bunch on, And I'm watching the episode, if you guys remember the Brady Bunch, where Greg was working for his dad, and at the architecture firm, and he's delivering the architectural drawings, and the thing comes out and he loses it, and it's like a really big deal. Like it screws up the business for a day or something, and Mr. Brady has to go and like fix him. Well, Greg basically was trying to save up money to buy a car, and so all this terrible thing happens to him. And the next scene, he's laying on his bed in his room, and he's just like stewing in it. Right. He's like thinking about it. His siblings come in, try to make him feel better, and it's this whole process of like, it's a process. He's processing what has occurred.
Right.
And I think what's happening in today's society for all of us is that we're not processing things. We're not spending time reflecting on what's happened. We are next thing, next TikTok, next short, next thing, constantly coming over and over and over again. And I think especially for our children who don't have the skill of kind of saying, okay, well, this bad thing happened to me, or this bad thing occurred in the world. Let me think about it. Let me process it. Okay, now let me find a place of hope. I don't think they ever get there. They just move on to the next electronic thing in their face. And I think this is causing them not to be able to deal with the next thing that comes at them. And I'm finding this like incredible pause. Like when I ask my kids something that's pretty benign, but it might be, semi-serious to them. They really struggle with even getting it out of their mouth. And this is something that's happening all across our society. And it's something that's frankly, I think, dangerous.
Right.
Like it's causing. And so the mental health thing, I'm telling kids now, I'm like, listen, if you want your next job, make sure it's a psychiatrist or a therapist. Like that's what you should go to school for. There's going to be so many of them that nobody's going to, right now it's hard enough to get one.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the job of the future for you young people out there. So
you hear that?
It really is.
Get a job as a therapist. You're right. And, in the members chat here, Rec Thought says, what you're looking for is a character that are aspiring. Yes. Yeah, I want characters to inspire me. I want characters to show me that that no matter the odds, my team and I can weather the storm. And then on the other side of that is also real science, like introducing a problem that you can solve, with some kind of scientific method that requires sacrifice. Don't just hand it to me. This is where science fiction has gone. And instead, the majority of science fiction is some dystopian future where everything sucks. And it's, or Black Mirror or Severance, and these are all well-made things. Don't get me wrong. They're well-made.
They're well-made, but you're right. There's an element of our society is being destroyed. And
Right.
Here's the thing is the reason why that's happening is because our society is being destroyed. So the divisiveness of things that are happening, the bipolar nature of our society, everything is politically drawn. And a lot of these shows are holding on to these ideas and sharing with. Severance is a great idea. I mean, literally, you're taking a person and breaking them into two people. The idea is incredibly fascinating, right? But the person who's going to work every day is essentially a slave to what's happening to them.
Right.
And the future is about more of that. It's a fantastic show. I'm really enjoying it, but it makes you sad to watch it.
Right.
And there is not a lot of things that are it makes you feel good, which is why I'm always going back to the well with TNG and Voyager. And, notice how I skipped DS9 because that doesn't necessarily make you feel uplifted either. But it, it's better than the crap we're getting now. So,
right. That's for sure. All right. So, so as far as where Star Trek's at, the next thing we're going to get is Discovery, the final season. And I'm not going to prejudge it. We haven't seen it yet, but based on all the previous seasons, probably not going to be a very uplifting time. If that changes, great. Cool. We'll watch it. We'll, if there's any value there, we'll review it. if there's not, then we won't. You'll know our information pretty much the first day. And then after that, we don't know yet. And because the writers' strike, there really isn't all that news about Starfleet Academy and Section 31. That's pretty much nothing's happening there. And
it is their roadmap, so to speak, right now. They're at least their public roadmap, but you can guarantee things are going to change
right
out of this. Paramount's in financial difficulty. Now, the longer the strike goes on, the more reprieve it gives them. But at some point, they're going to have to figure out how to properly pay these writers. You know, there has to be some sort of, right now, the writers are not getting, they're definitely not getting properly, compensated for streaming shows. So especially for when shows get done later. So it's a very complicated thing. It happened back in the day when, originally back when, we had the writer's strike. I think it was 2003.
Yeah.
During that time, they had to have a whole revamping of the structure. But now it has to happen again. And it's going to be complicated because this, as we've said before, the studios don't give up their numbers. So there's this, will the studios give up some sort of power? And that's what we're really waiting for to hear.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that.
I know they don't want to. They're going to try to find a way not to do it. I have a feeling that the old system of like how many times something gets viewed is not going to end up being the answer. Like the residuals, the way they're done, like, okay, well, now this is in rerun. So now you're going to get residuals for this. I think they're going to come up with some sort of like percentage payment, and we'll still never actually know how much something's ever viewed.
Right. Okay. Well, so that's it. What does that mean for the future of the Popcast, Shane?
What
does that mean for the future of our channels?
Oh, Star Trek?
Yeah. What does Star Trek not being around for at least a couple of years mean for the Popcast Unleashed, the Popcast Prime, etc.?
Well, kind of like you saw Vic here going through this death spiral. That's kind of us. I mean, what we're recognizing is that, less and less people are interested in hearing us talk about how, Star Trek Legacy was so great. So with the changing of the times, we will change as well. And we will probably follow whatever's next, perhaps, whatever science fiction-y type stuff our fans kind of move to. Hopefully we'll get to move to it. And of course, we're going to continue to have like really great discussions about, just things happening every week in Hollywood and in culture. We're just going to have these great conversations, and our Prime videos are probably going to, have to rotate a little bit too. Unfortunately, we can't do things like Barbie because apparently nobody wants to see that. But I'm sure
you don't say, Shane.
Well, it is our lowest viewed video ever
of all time.
And what's interesting about it is, and this must be our transition to Barbie.
Yes, Barbiegeddon. Yes,
Barbiegeddon. So
thank you. I like how you recognize the transition.
I saw, yeah. And I
for
appreciate
you.
it.
I'm proud of you.
So thanks. It's our lowest viewed video ever. And since it was down to 1 view an hour yesterday, the YouTube algorithm has either crushed it or nobody wants to watch it. But here's what's weird is we've been told by so many people that it's probably one of our best videos ever.
Yeah, we've been told by a lot of which just rubs salt into the wound.
It does. It
really does. It hurts more when someone that we admire is like, dude, this is your best video ever made. I'm like, I wish you would just say it's not good.
It'd be better if it wasn't good, because what it really means is that people don't want to fight. The fight's dying, and let me tell you, if the fight's dying, there's somebody that's losing.
Well, at least for us. Maybe other people will have audiences that still care about that stuff.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about just as I went out into the ether on this topic, It was a very interesting response everywhere that I went. And even some of the reality is that people are not, what we did with our Barbie video, by the way. So if you haven't seen it, Go check it out. It's actually really great because it actually shows. I mean, anybody who watched the Barbie movie knows that it was it was shoving a broom up men's asses. I mean, 100%. If you can watch it, and you can be a woman, you can be a man, and if you're just any sort of a reasonable person who watches it, you're going to go, well, men didn't get a good look in this movie. Okay.
Sure.
Now, if you don't think that, then you're lying to yourself, or you're just fucking blind. One of the two things.
Right.
Okay. And you've drank the Kool-Aid so hard that you can't see anything else. And I'm sorry if that's the case for you, but it's true. This movie is a broomstick up men's asses. And here's the thing is, it would be one thing if the men deserved it in this case. But the reality is that we created a video. We wanted to explain that the younger generation, not talking about me. Okay. If you're my mom's age, my mom is 60. She'd probably kill me for saying this. She's 60, 67 years old. Okay. My mom can be a pissed off woman if she wants to, because when she was young, she got beat up by the men in her life, and she was treated like shit. Okay. By men who lived by the rule of thumb. I don't know if you guys have heard of the rule of thumb, right? The rule of thumb was created that a man could not hit his wife with a stick that was bigger than his thumb, right? But what does it tell you? Men were allowed to hit their wives.
Right.
Okay, there was a time when this was the case.
Steeper
and
problem.
It was awful. It's awful. This is history. You know, women being pissed in the 60s, they had a right to be pissed. You know, there was a good reason to be angry. You know, even in the early 1980s, that movie 9 to 5, yeah, that shit was real. Okay, that thing that happened with Dabney Coleman's telling him to get his coffee and, like, you know, chasing him around the office and shit like that was the way life was.
Right.
So listen, women had a right to be pissed off. But let me tell you, when I was born, I'm going to be 50, I was taught differently. I was taught that women are equal to men. I was taught that women should be respected, and that men and women should respect each other equally. And I've been taught this, and I have fought this my entire life. Okay. And so when the Barbie movie gets here, and you're being told, and this is a whole cultural pushback, you know, the whole beta male thing, the whole, you know, cuck your guy, the whole, like, men should just shut up and go stand in the corner. That's been going on for some time now.
Right.
Okay. The revolt, the punishment of man has been occurring. But here in this Barbie movie, some interesting things happened. So there were elements in the Barbie movie, like the heckling of construction workers and slapping Barbie on the ass, and this general sexual attacks that were happening in the real world, not in Kenland, in the real world, which was supposed to be a representation of our current real world now. And I took offense by it, because yeah, that was 40, 50 years ago, but that's not the way it is now.
Right.
Now, the pushback I kept getting from everybody is, well, obviously you don't know, because it's that way all over the country.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I've been all over the country, and I don't see, this doesn't happen on the streets.
Right.
You know, if this is happening on the street. So I think some of these people are full of shit. But one of the things that we decided to do is, it wasn't just about complaining about the Barbie movie. We wanted to take Greta Gerwig, who made the movie, and find out why she did it. So we went and explored Greta's history, her background.
Right.
We went there and said, okay, we're going to find out what she's all about. And when you go and figure out what she's all about, you realize she was raised like ultra feminist.
Right.
What's the word for it? It's not
like third wave feminism.
All those waves. I don't know about that shit, but it's like hardcore feminist, radical feminist. That's it. She was raised by a feminist mom who wouldn't even let her play with Barbies, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't buy her a Barbie. She went to an all-girls Catholic high school. She went to an all-girls college, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now she's 40 years old. She was born in a time when things were just beginning to change. But we learned throughout this entire process that she is very hooked up in a feminist light.
Right.
And we also figured out that she created, all of the movies that she creates are about women relationships, and really the man is not important. Okay. And then she's in a relationship for like the last 12 years with a guy she has kids with that she won't marry. You know, so there's this whole like thing that's happening. And then when you find out that she's the one who wrote Snow White, which you guys are hearing a whole bunch of shit about that. Yeah, that's Greta Gerwig. That's Greta Gerwig's writing. That's Greta Gerwig's impression on Rachel, right? That's the message that she's saying is, yeah, you guys go ahead and say about how Snow White doesn't need dudes and the story's stupid
Right.
and all that stuff, right? Now she's going to go do Chronicles of Narnia. How you like that one, Brian?
Say it right. Yes. I had to correct his. In the
still don't
video,
think
he
you're
was like Narnia. I don't know why you keep
Right.
saying it that way.
Because that's the way I read it, and I read it before
wrong
anybody
way.
ever said it out loud.
It's the wrong way to say it.
Well, anyways, so listen, yeah, it's a bunch of bad stuff. So we made this video to tell everybody, and only 2,000 people watched it. So we have no control over what gets shown and what doesn't get shown, but we did our best and we put it out there, and hopefully at some point people get a chance to watch it. But I'm very discouraged by the attitudes. I went to try to market our video to kind of different places, and I tried to go to some male-centered places like Reddit's Daddit
Right.
subreddit and some of the other places. And what I put out there was concern for my sons in the future, because men are being shown in such a light that it's not going to be fair to them. Like, they're being punished for things that their grandfather did,
Right.
or their great grandfather. They're being punished. They're going to be. It's happening. I can see it happening. And we're going to talk about it in a second. So some places where people are essentially divorcing their husbands because they watch Joe Rogan.
Wild.
We'll be talking about some of that. Can you believe it? You watch Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, you get a divorce. So the power dynamic is changing. It is not what I'm learning, and this is very frustrating. It's not about being equal. It's not about men and women being equal like I was taught and raised. It's about men being punished because they were in power for a long time and the things they did were bad. And so now they need to be punished for a time. That's what this is about. At least that's the way it feels to me. So anyways, what do you have to think?
No, that's what it is. And, it's bummer. It is a bummer seeing people leave over it. But I gotta say is someone on the members side said, hey, if they left, then it was probably for the best anyways. And you know what? I don't know what it is. I just saw it in there when you were talking. We also got a super chat from No Money G. Thank you, No Money G. Here's to arguing with your pissed off communities on the Barbie video. Never give up, never surrender.
Nice. Thank you, No Money G. That's actually very sweet. And also, No Money G, thank you. We appreciate the support, because No Money G also actually gave us what do you call it? What do you call those things?
A super thanks?
A super thanks inside of our Barbie video. And thank you for doing that. Oh, and I was wrong. We have 2,800 views. And I just wanted to highlight his comment really quick, since he actually gave us money and he's supporting the channel. Let me see if I can find it real quick here.
While you're finding that, we also got a super chat from Michael Nemo. And Michael Nemo said, actually a Streamlabs tip. You can, again, that link is in the chat. He said there was about 8 years between 1969 and 1979 where there was little to no Star Trek. And you know what? We were fine. Given that Phoenix time to burn, then rise again can yield something fantastic. You know what? That's a really good way of looking at it, Mike.
Yeah, this too shall pass, I guess, is the best way to look at it. I guess, my hope is that at some point it'll come back around again. And if it doesn't, we do have some pretty great content. I don't know why that
you can't find the super things.
I'm not seeing it as I scroll through here. So that's a bummer.
All right.
But anyways, I know that you gave it. So thank you so much for doing that, No Money G. And we really appreciate the support. We've been getting some really great support from everybody at Discord and just you guys who are here every week. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, you guys are great. All right. So, that's about it. That's about it for Barbiegeddon.
Well, we should talk about some of this subreddit stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you want to transition that? Okay. Yeah, there was.
Same thing. I think it's all the same. I think it's all the same mindset.
Okay.
I mean, what do you think of this whole idea that and I hate to say it, it almost sounds conspiratorial, But because I'm seeing it out there so much, I'm seeing it on all the social media sites. This kind of like, if you can't keep your man in his place, then you should get rid of him. I don't know. Are you seeing that?
Yeah. Well, check this out. So Shane shared this post with me, and I'm going to TLDR this, but pretty much this is what she says. I, a 43-year-old female, has been married to my husband, 44, for 13 years. Together for 18 years. That's a long time. I've been married for 21 years coming up. Within the last year, he started watching YouTube shorts a lot. Around this time, some new elements and themes started entering our conversations. He was saying how men are not valued enough by society, and how our society couldn't have all these great things without the contributions and hard manual labor of men, implying women are unfit for this work. FYI, I mean, that's sort of right. As of right now, most of the physical work is done by men, and he did specify hard manual labor. I'm not sure why that's even a problem. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, because suggesting that men might do something, that a woman can't do is
or won't do. There might be manual labor jobs, but look, the majority of manual labor jobs are dominated by men. Why is it dominated by men? Because women don't want to do them. Just like the majority of...
I don't want to do them either.
Just like the majority of... You're right. I mean, yeah, neither do we. Just like the majority of school teachers are women, because not very many men want to deal with kids all day. I mean, that there is certain biological sort of things that make us more fit or less fit for certain kind of jobs, depending on our personality. And a lot of men don't, most men, I would say, probably don't want to deal with crying kids all day. Most women might not have a problem with that. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, right? But that doesn't prove anything. If you look at the vast majority of teachers and people in hospitality, it's women. The vast majority of people doing construction work are men, right? Okay, so her getting mad at that is very stupid. It's stupid to get mad that he was implying. He's not implying shit. He literally said, hard manual labor is for men, because generally it is. Well, she goes on and says how men have been oppressed through history just as much as women because, for example, the draft. Okay.
Well, the guy. Listen. He's definitely not approaching it correctly.
Right.
I didn't agree with. I mean, I don't know if she's being honest here, but it wasn't even that. It was like the whole. She's like, I don't know what to do.
Right. I'm gonna get to the end of that
comment section.
Right. So she finishes basically. I'm gonna move on. She finishes and says, "Come to find out, the YouTube stuff he's watching is some funny videos mixed with some manosphere stuff."
That's a new word, by the way.
Manosphere. What's the version? What's the male version of feminist? Meninist?
Yeah, see, and I don't want to get all meninist on you guys. This is starting to make me meninist. I'm starting to feel that way.
And he's going to keep watching that manosphere stuff because once you watch it, they feed you more. How do I counteract this? Okay, and I'm going to let you go. But the first comment...
No, go ahead. Please, go crazy.
Okay, so the very first comment I saw yesterday, it's changed now that there are more comments, but the first comment I saw yesterday made me seethe with anger. This person, by the way, got a ton of Reddit awards, and you can give a commenter an award that costs you money. The commenter doesn't get money. Reddit gets money. You can buy awards on Reddit for money to hand them out to people that you agree with. People felt so strongly about this comment that they gave her awards, some awards costing upwards of $25. This is what she said.
You should also note that this was the most upvoted, most shared Reddit thing I've ever seen. It had 777 shares, which means girls are sending it to other girls.
Well, how about this? This comment has 14,000 upvotes. This comment that got these awards has 14,000.6 upvotes. Tell him the shit he's watching is aimed at vulnerable 22-year-olds and divorced dads and remind him that he's going to be one of those two categories if he doesn't treat you with respect as an equal partner in your marriage. Right. That's a great. First off, why are you going to the internet for advice on your marriage? That's such a weird thing to do. I've never understood that.
I mean, if I don't take it seriously, they may not have no place else they can go. I mean,
maybe they don't. But when you do, when the most upvoted comment on this thread is to tell him that he's out if he doesn't get his shit together, is so insane. Look, guys, like him watching Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, those are not aimed at vulnerable 22-year-olds and divorced dads. Joe Rogan is not aimed at anyone. There's a reason why millions of people watch his stuff. They're not all 22-year-olds and divorced dads.
Not Joe Rogan, but Jordan Peterson is trying to protect 22-year-old men. Like he's trying to protect young men. He's saying and he's got the same feeling I got. It's like these young men haven't done anything wrong, but they're being treated as if. And here's what's funny is the women who are treating these men wrong, they didn't necessarily have bad things happen to it. Like I said, my 67-year-old mother, she can be pissed. She got pistol whipped by a husband. She got treated like shit by a husband. Are you telling me I'm not saying every person's great, but on the majority of the level, are men treating their wives better today than they did 40, 50 years ago?
Right. Of course.
Of course they are. So, but we're holding men accountable as if it's still happening, or they are holding men accountable. Look, if you don't do what I tell you to do, it's divorce, buddy. Is that what I'm hearing here?
That's what you're hearing. And it gets better. There's a reply to that comment and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the end of it. I think it's fair to make a rule of any marriage not to consume bigoted content that puts your spouse in the crosshairs. First off, who is deciding what's bigoted or not? But this is what really ruffled my feathers. Someone replied to that comment and said, I made this rule in my home. My husband isn't the kind of person to fall for these things, but it's not allowed in my home. Holy crap. That is a red flag. If your wife is deciding, or your husband is deciding what you are allowed to watch.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
My God.
It's not allowed in my home. You're not allowed to watch Joe Rogan in this house because he might give you ideas on having some sort of testicular masculinity.
Right. Here's the next one. Oh, are you me? While I was dating, my husband was a driver. I'm not going to finish that. She told him he couldn't listen to talk radio. And if you think that I'm being hyperbolic, you guys, there are tens of thousands of comments that are pretty much saying what I'm saying right now, what I'm reading right now. They're all the same. No one is pushing back against this. And I'm going to say what I said last week. When we were talking about the Chakotay thing, with Robert Beltran stuff. My problem is not that idiots exist online. It's that there is no one pushing back against it. There was no one pushing back on Twitter, on X, on X.com. Last week, when Robert Beltran was being singled out and dragged for showing up to a Star Trek convention, no pushback. I mean, there was a few people, but no real pushback. When it comes to this stuff, there really isn't pushback. And I understand that when it comes to Reddit's pretty much owned by whatever radical feminist is in charge that day. So there probably isn't the possibility of pushback. But can I get one? I spent way too much time on this, and I couldn't find a single reasonable reply. A single reasonable reply.
Well, of course not, because they're going to ban that person as soon as they do. I mean, talk about being in an echo chamber. Like, they're accusing that husband of being in like this male, what do they call it? Manosphere.
Manosphere.
Well, they're in that womanosphere, and it's weird. I saw it too. So one of the things earlier I was telling you about when I was talking about my concerns about, young men and the way they're being, kind of, treated like it's their fault what happened in the past. When I put that on the dad subreddit, I was banned. and they were so angry that I said that they muted me, temporarily banned me, and then banned me permanently and said, "You get your trash out of here." They sent me like comments like, "You're a piece of trash. Get your trash out of here." And I'm like, so you cannot have independent thought.
You can't have independent thought. Right.
And that goes along with a comment that William Shatner actually put out. Let me see if I.
Oh, the cray comment.
Yeah. So he put out a tweet, and I replied to it, and of course it's not here. Let's see. Basically, he said that some person was. Man, you posted a lot last day or two.
Yeah. That's what I do when you're working on your scripts, and
I guess so.
And I'm waiting, fervently waiting.
Here it is. William Shatner said, let me go to this click thing here. Craze, you know who you are. If the woman who sat for the Mona Lisa painting was found to be a bad parent who neglected her children and spent nights drinking and frolicking in 1500s Florence, would you demand that the Louvre remove the painting from public view?
Right.
Now, Bill thinking, well, of course, that's totally unreasonable. What I said was, yes, Bill, they would. Because the Salem witch trials taught us something important about humanity. If there are no consequences for being wrong, some people will absolutely crush others if they think it will raise their standing in a community.
Yep.
Because once the group takes over, anyone who is different is punished. And if you pay attention right now in social media, it's getting worse and worse and worse. Guys, I hate to tell you guys this. This is just the beginning. I am terrified to see what this shit's going to look like 10 years from now.
We're in the end game now.
It's our children are playing games where they're not seeing kids and they're not learning these they're not learning how to socially interact with people. Right. My son is playing on the Quest thing, Oculus, the thing. He's playing with other kids. They're playing Gorilla Tag, this game where they tag each other, right? And I hear what he is hearing. Things like, calling people racial slurs, completely offensive statements that these kids are calling each other. I'm like, get off that thing, right? And what's happening is these children aren't learning that if you say that at the park, that other kid's going to punch you in the face, right? They're not learning this. Right. They're learning that they can say whatever the heck they want to say. What is this going to look like in 10 years from now if we don't, put a stop to it or have a conversation, something? Right?
I said it before. We need to bring bullies back. Bring bullies back.
There's got to be a different answer. But ideally, I see what you're saying. But I'm just saying, imagine 10 years from now when these children are the young adults and they haven't had any social skills.
Right. Well, yeah,
because what happens then?
Yeah, like it's not. I don't know if it's called. I don't know if it's called sheltering or what, but something that has to be done. They have been sheltered to the point where they haven't been able to actually progress socially, and that's probably where a lot of the mental health issues come from, because there are people that are now in their 30s that came from a system where they didn't have to win or lose; they just had to exist. And now they're in the workplace where you do have to win or lose, and they're finding that it's a different place. And what are they doing? They're doing something called quiet quitting, and they're pushing back against the system. They're trying to modify corporate America to reflect the way they grew up, because corporate America is not treating them quote unquote fairly. No. When we get to this line of story, there was a person that came out that spoke out against the company and said, I had requirements on my job. I had to post to Twitter twice a day and TikTok twice a day. And she listed like her work requirements. And in her mind, her work requirements were so much to deal with that it was a hostile work environment. And I'm looking at what she had to do every day and what she made. And I'm like, damn, can I have that job?
Well, that's what happens when you grow up in a society where you can always just go home to your parents.
Right. Now, another one of these comments, I'm gonna kill this page, but I found it interesting. There was what I'm assuming is a husband that posted, and he said that his wife
he got away with it.
Well, because he's a man. He's a feminist.
I guess he's a meninist.
He wrote, "My wife has a habit of listening to this person, this I'm just going to say, I'm not going to say the person's name, but some right-wing person. And her reasoning was just to hear the other side of the issue. He told her, I had a difficult time articulating why I thought that was such a bad idea. And he gets all his support. So his wife reasonably said, I want to listen to both sides of the argument. And he got mad and argued that he was sick of her bullshit, his words, and that was a bad idea. Do you understand how harmful that is? To completely cut oneself off from one side of an argument?
Yeah, and also I'd like to point out how disgusting it is as a male, as a man who goes into these women subreddits to try to like gain some sort of female clout by acting like you're one of them.
Right.
Like, stop, dude. That's
Shit.
disgusting.
Listen, none of them are going to sleep with you. Stop.
Beta males. And listen, I'm not saying that you need to be toxic masculinity. I don't believe that you should be a toxic man. You know, my wife is treated as an equal with me. We treat each other equally.
Yep.
There are things that I do that she doesn't do. She don't want to do the finances. I do those things, and I'm pretty good at it. So I do. Same with you. You're not a woman, and you let me do the finances. So,
Right.
Yeah.
When it comes to our business, I don't want to do that crap.
Right.
I trust Shane, so I'm like, good luck, Shane.
Yeah.
I'm going to be over here creating things. I would argue you have the worst job.
Well, there you go. And so my wife would probably say the same thing, but there are things that she does that I don't like to do, you know? So, and that's like doing some of the kids' projects and things. I don't like doing that kind of stuff. So we trade off. It's equal. We treat each other with respect and care. But I am still a strong man, right? I still believe in being a confident, strong man with my morals and characteristics. And I'm going to argue my points of view. I'm going to argue my points. The problem with
like equals.
Right. The problem is that when some men argue their points, the ladies feel like I got to do whatever he says. And so the problem now becomes an internal lady problem, right? It's a lack of self-confidence that the woman has because she doesn't feel like she can say anything back. She can't say, listen, dear, I know that you feel compelled about this, but it's not reasonable. We can't do that.
My wife has never once had that problem. Just to be clear.
But
that's good. I've been married for almost 21 years. Okay. I'm proud of that fact. I'm married to a proud Latina. And if you've ever had experiences with Hispanic women, they're either very submissive or they will burn your house down.
Yes, that's true.
There is no in between there. My wife is the latter. Okay. If she had to, she would burn the house down with me inside.
Right.
She is extremely strong-willed, but we get along great because I'm also very strong-willed. So we had this we can actually have a conversation and give and take and talk about things as equals. And even if we get our feelings hurt, we go back to that. We never go to sleep on that. We've been married for a very long time, and I feel like what we're doing is it works. At least it works for me. So I'm not going to stop.
Well, that's the way it should be. So now that's the reason why a lot of these people are on Reddit. And there's guys, same problem. They don't feel like they can talk to their wives, and so they're on Reddit complaining. And you've got these wives or these ladies on Reddit complaining. I thought it was interesting though that subreddit, that female XX chromosome subreddit has the rainbow flag across the top, which I was like,
well,
the W is not an LGBTQ. Just
all the subreddits, all the most popular subreddits. In case you guys didn't know this, I'm gonna ruin your view of Reddit. Ready? The top 50 most popular subreddits are all owned by the same 5 people. You think I'm lying? Okay. Go look it up. The top 50 most popular subreddits are all owned by the same 5 mods. And those mods are very left-wing and very agenda-driven.
Okay. Well, so it's just, I find it interesting that a lot of these ladies who are posting their problems with their guys, and then listen, you need to have an outlet, but it also means that they can't talk to their guy. You know, so if your partner is doing something that's, Power is not something that is ever equal in a relationship. Power is transferred back and forth. One day someone's going to have a little more power in a relationship, and the next day the other person is going to. For a good relationship to work, your power is going to go back and forth.
Yeah, it depends on what I did that day. If I pissed her off, then I'm definitely not the powerful one that night.
Right, but it should go back and forth.
Yeah.
Because if one partner stays in power for too long, then it makes the other person run to other avenues to get their power. And guess what? When they're vocalizing their problems on Reddit, it's giving them power, and they're feeling empowered by the people telling them, "You're right, get rid of that guy." And then they go back to their guy and like, "Yeah, so what do you want for dinner?" Instead of like making the relationship better and saying, "Look, listen, if you're going to watch Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, I mean, that's fine. But just remember that, we have a respectful relationship when we work together. And I'm sorry that you're feeling like we live in a society where men are kind of getting the shaft now because of the faults of history. But maybe we can talk about it, because that's not how I feel about you, and I don't want you to feel that way about me."
That's the right way to do it.
That?
Also, I don't know what the problem with Joe Rogan is. I have listened to a lot of Joe Rogan, and I don't see any issue. So I don't know why so many left-wing people hate Joe Rogan.
Oh, and left-wing people, if you're watching, which I doubt you are, but if you are watching, Joe Rogan loves the Barbie movie and thinks, what's the big deal? What's everybody complaining about? So leave Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan is a classical liberal. I don't know I don't know why people have a problem with him. I don't know. I don't get it. My biggest issue with Joe Rogan is sometimes he spends way too much time talking about MMA, and I don't like that. I have no interest in it whatsoever.
Right.
I'll sit there. I'm like, oh, Joe Rogan's on. Oh, today's guest is a MMA fighter. God damn it.
Well, I don't watch those days.
That's pretty much the days I can't watch. All right. So speaking of that, let's segue to this LTT thing before we go to the fun stuff. All right. Just to give everyone a quick breakdown, there are a few big organizations or YouTubers that have to deal with technology. And one of them is a company a channel called Linus Tech Tips, ran by a guy named Linus.
Pretty popular.
It's very popular.
What does he do? He like breaks down things, or?
Yeah. So what Linus did is Linus started in the tech space working for a couple companies. One that I also worked for, which is hilarious. And he was working there when I was working there, which is even more hilarious. And he started on YouTube actually working to make videos for those channels. And then eventually moved on to do his own channel and became this big juggernaut. Now, Linus Tech Tips, and I'll go to his channel so you guys can see who I'm talking about. He puts himself out there as, let's say, like us. He presents his channel as a channel where it's just him and his friends, and they review technology and make fun computers and do cool water cooling stuff. And maybe that's the way it started, but that is far from the truth now. In reality, it's a $100 million company. They have hundreds of employees. It's a corporation. And the front-facing person in that corporation is still Linus. Now, Linus, up until recently, was the CEO of the company. He recently actually gave that position up to some other corporate guy. So it's actually a pretty large company. Now, the secondary in that space is a guy named Gamers Nexus. Gamers Nexus is a much smaller channel by comparison. He has one channel, not 25, right? And it is pretty much just him. It's one guy and maybe a couple helpers that make the similar videos. Now, here's what happened. For a long time, Linus Tech Tips had been criticized by fans that they don't actually test their products correctly, that they steal from sponsors, that they're not on the up and up, that they're shills, whatever, right? I never believed that, but that's what was being said. There was a tour recently where someone in the tour said something very negative about Gamers Nexus. And then it came out that Linus, and this was the video, that Linus and his team, just like I figured the entire time, definitely did sort of the least amount of work when it came to certain videos. It's a business. So they would look at what their videos cost and they go, the video is going to make this much money depending on this many views. How much money can we dedicate to it? If we have to retest, we're not going to do that because it's going to cost us an extra few $100s. Linus went on to further put his foot in his mouth by saying stuff on his live show that a ridiculous amount of people watched, about how it's not cost effective, basically, and that the outcome would be the same anyways. So who cared? And
so I'm sorry. So to clarify, because I'm confused,
testing
are you
a
saying
product.
that the testing of the products and being honest about the review is a waste of time? Is that what he said?
Right. Okay. So for instance, one of his people was reviewing a mouse that was sent to them by a company.
Okay.
They gave the mouse a bad review, but they never removed the plastic from the bottom of the mouse.
Okay. So they made a mistake. Now, they didn't want to take the video down because it's getting millions of views. Yeah.
So they left it up. They said that the review would be the same regardless. People asked us a very reasonable question. How can the review be the same if you never took the plastic off the bottom of the mouse?
To which they should have said, we had already used the mouse before we reviewed it or something.
That should have been the statement. But instead of saying that, what did Linus say? He said, the outcome would have been the same regardless, and I didn't want to spend the extra $500 to remake a video.
That is the wrong answer, dude, when you're making as much money as you are. That is not cool.
Right. Now, this Gamers Nexus guy, who is a very he is as sweaty as they get, okay? When it comes to nerds, this guy is ultra sweaty. He is very good at his craft. And he normally doesn't, he never attacks anyone else. And then it came out that they basically said that when they did that live show, that they named Gamers Nexus as a company that doesn't test like they do. And so he went like full scorched earth. And
okay, hold on. The Linus Tech Tips guy said these guys don't do their work.
Right, basically. He said they can't do the work we do.
Got it.
And Nexus was like, well, let me just pop out all my receipts to show you how many times you've been completely and totally wrong and completely ignored the fact that you were wrong because you were too interested in making money off those videos. Bottom line here, this spun out of control. Millions of people saw it. Huge thing.
So millions of people saw this guy's video.
Yes.
Okay.
And he did. And by the way, he didn't even monetize it. This guy is such a warrior. I don't know another word to say it. He was so offended by this. He knew millions of people would see it and decided not to put ads on the video or sponsors. Basically did it for free, which is
making the point.
It's the antithesis of what Linus Tech Tips is.
It's why people with conviction are successful.
Right. Now, so this thing blew up out of control. People were attacking LTT for the first time in decades. Remember, LTT has a lot of channels, like dozens of channels. So they made an apology video. They made an apology video that started off with this guy, the new CEO, and it basically goes throughout and then Linus's wife. Okay, so the CEO, and then Linus's wife, and then some guy in the testing department, and then a guy in the writing department, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Down.
It looks like a SNL skit that's gone wrong.
It does. Right. So they go down, they're trying to explain themselves and why it's so important to have systems in place and whatever. And then it gets to Linus, and this whole video, by the way, is monetized. It's
and the video's monetized.
Right.
And the video's monetized.
It's not just monetized, but there's an ad before every single new person. Yes. So what you have here, this was hilarious. They had the CEO, and then Linus's wife, and head of labs, then James, then Ed, then Nick, then Torn, then Colton, then Luke, then Linus, and then the CEO again. Before every person They had
How long is that video?
It's a 20-minute ad. 20-minute video.
There's an ad every 2 minutes.
they had an ad before every single section.
That's insane. Nobody does that.
Where they're trying to apologize for their failings.
Trying to apologize for over monetizing, and then they do that. Oh my god!
So then they quickly turn the ads off when people are like, "We've heard the feedback from the community, and our team internally have turned the monetization off of this video."
Oh my god!
Now here's the thing:
look, we're all trying to make money here, but I mean, give me a break.
No, yeah, listen, it's a
Come on.
I get it. It's a corporation with 15 plus channels and 200 employees. Like they got to make money. But dude, the wrong way to do it.
Video to do it on.
And then of course, Gamers Nexus immediately makes another.
Did he make another video?
Yeah. Because the things they said in the video were just objectively wrong. They said things that were totally incorrect. So this guy goes back to the sponsors and the people they stole from, and he goes, "This is what they said." And they're like, "That's not what happened. Let me show you all the receipts." And it's completely wrong. So LTT and its 37,000 channels have now completely ceased video production for the next 8 days.
Are you serious? Oh, because of this guy.
Right. This guy shut $100 million company down for a week.
Hey, this guy, he needs to get security at his house right now, because if they find him, it's over. It's only one guy. I've seen countries do this. It's okay. We can take him out. Hey, hide yourself, buddy.
Yeah.
Protect yourself.
And you know what's funny? Someone said this guy looks like the CEO of Dharma on Lost. He does look like the CEO of Dharma, the Dharma organization.
Yeah.
No, which is funny. So the CEO of Dharma is now working at LTT, and this guy just shut the $100 million corporation down.
He's making bank.
Right. So bottom line here is I thought it was important to sort of explain this whole situation as quickly as TLDR as possible. You can go watch these videos. They get very complicated. This guy goes into graphs, and he gets really complicated. Okay. You watch this, and if you're a non-tech person, it's impossible to understand it. If you are a tech person, it's still pretty hard to understand it.
I won't be watching it.
And I just basically gave you the rundown. So I'm not sure what's going to happen now, but there is now a hole in YouTube. For the next probably 2 weeks, there is a technology hole. And if this guy right here, if Gamers Nexus does not fill that hole, then that is a massive lost opportunity.
We need to send him a message and say, "Look, buddy, you need to crank out some videos and quick. Now's your moment."
Bro, if you have any videos sitting on the backlog, get them out.
Yeah.
You start pumping out daily videos, because there is you have to understand, LTT had been releasing videos daily across 12 channels for the last 2 years.
Jesus.
You know how hard that is?
Yes, I do.
Long videos too, like some 15, 20, 30-minute videos even. They made a video where they used a pool to water cool a server, that kind of stuff, hard stuff.
So it's not the same guy in the different channels, right?
He's on all the main channel stuff, and the other channels are other people.
That dude's working his butt off.
Yeah. So he said the reason he hired a CEO was so that he can continue being in videos, because he couldn't do both jobs. Bottom line is, there's a massive hole. I hope this dude fills it. And I thought it was very interesting, because I actually worked at Arc Technologies, which was the company that Linus worked for at the same time Linus worked for it. And I remember them putting out email newsletters to show Linus's videos. And I think it's hilarious how I remember watching those videos and thinking, these are the cheesiest, stupidest thing ever. Why is this company spending any money on this? And now Linus owns a $100 million studio.
Wow. Well, check out this comment from Species 1571 about Linus and Steve.
Oh. Linus and Steve were actually friends. When LTT was hacked a few months ago, it was Steve who called Linus in the middle of the night to give him the heads up. So kudos for his honesty despite that. Yeah, good point. So obviously, Gamers Nexus Steve had no issue with Linus. And what happened was when they did that big studio, this $100 million studio tour, effectively rubbing it in their faces how much bigger they are than everyone, and then proceeded to punch down and say that Steve doesn't test the way they do, or can't do the work they do. I think that just put Steve on a whole nother plane. I think he just sort of decided to release the receipts. And I found it fascinating. Yeah, I watch all the hardware stuff. We build servers and computers here. I'm very into all that stuff. But more importantly is the YouTube portion of it. Watching, 15 plus channels go dark for the next 8 to 10 days is pretty incredible. It's a big thing. And you're right. I think I'm gonna message this guy on Twitter. Hopefully he gets it. Like, I hope you're making videos.
Now's your moment to.
Because he has 2 million subs, which is a lot of subs. But he has 2 million to Linus's 30 million subs. Big difference.
Right. Well, yeah, you have to understand, like in business, when you have competitors, and obviously they're competitors. When your competitor gives you an opening, you have to take more space. So that's the way it works.
Right.
All right. Well, that was interesting. Thanks for the walk down. Interesting YouTube attacker land.
I know Shane's like, why are we talking about this?
I am thinking that to some degree but it's interesting. If this was all tech stuff, I'd be like, okay, this is a total waste of time. But because it's like, YouTubers taking on YouTubers, it's interesting. So
right. I found it interesting because this all just happened. So I thought if that many people are interested in this, we should probably discuss it. And I found it interesting that I actually worked at the same company that Linus worked for way back when. I legitimately remember looking at his videos and thinking, these are so stupid. Who would spend time on this? And now the guy is $100 million studio.
I mean, I don't understand it still.
Clearly the wrong.
Apparently a lot of people really
are
into like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's tech. People like tech, bro.
I do not. I like what tech does for me. I don't want to understand tech. It's just not the way I roll. So,
all right. Speaking of tech, this is a perfect segue. Ready for this amazing segue? Speaking of tech, let's talk about the Blue Beetle movie.
No, okay. Well, don't forget Snow White because that is in there too.
I'll segue to that.
Okay, thanks.
So really quick on Blue Beetle. I know a lot of people haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I don't want to be.
I'm not going to spoil anything. I'll say this. Blue Beetle is, and I still think Blue Beetle is probably going to bomb, so it probably doesn't matter. But Blue Beetle is a refreshing movie in the sense where it reminds me of the 90s movies, but with kick-ass graphics and a really heartfelt story. It has a lot of practical effects. The guy is not sitting in like a green dot suit. They haven't injected all of it. It's practical effects for the most part. I love how they focus on family, heroics. He's an aspiring hero. It's inspiring the way their family works together. It's a great origin story. Like it's a really good origin story, and I feel like there's a lot there to see. And if you have time and you want to go to the theater, I would watch this before I watch anything out right now.
Let me ask you. Can I ask you a question? So,
sure.
So the main actor Miguel is this character's name. Let me IMDb.
The character's name is Jaime.
No, yeah, but the actor's name, because is it Angel? No, it's directed by that person. It is. My mouse.
I'm talking about the guy from. Oh, the main character. His name is Zolo Maridina.
Is that his name?
I'm ruining this.
Listen, bro, name. You need a stage name, dog. Like that's not gonna. That don't go down here.
Yeah, he was in. He was in the Karate Kid thing, right? Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I really liked him in Cobra Kai. Like you know what? He needs to go by X. Let's just call him X.
No, don't do that. That sounds like a porn star.
What?
He sounds like a porn star. He's going. Zolo is fine, but you need to change your last name.
Why does X need to be a porn star?
You need a stage name people can pronounce if you want to stay in the news. Like Zolo.
X is perfect.
All right.
I mean, okay, Zolo. Go with Zolo.
Zolo's fine. Just say Zolo.
Maradona is difficult. But anyways.
So Maradona. You said it right.
Yeah, I speak Spanish. So tell me, sir, how was his acting in the movie?
No, he did. He put this movie on his back and he carried it for the first half of the film easily. And I would say the second half of the film got a little cheesy. I mean, a little bit, because it's typical superhero stuff. But I would say at that moment, you had people like George Lopez and some of the family members that really came through. And
so what about the George Lopez comment on Batman on being a fascist?
George
Lopez like a hard.
He's a conspiracy theorist.
Okay,
and it's funny.
So it's funny.
It's legitimate. He's legitimate. I'm gonna say this the first time ever. George Lopez was hilarious. I don't think I never really liked George Lopez's comedy, but in this movie it was very funny. His delivery was perfect. He reminded you of that crazy uncle who talks about like lizard people and stuff. It was great.
I really liked the George Lopez show.
It was great. He was really good. The whole family was great. The first half of the movie, it should feel slow, but because of Zolo, he's so endearing and so charming, it's not slow.
He's very charming, right?
Very charming.
It came across in Cobra Kai. Very charming guy. He has screen presence. Right.
Yeah, he does.
So, which that's the charisma is really important. Like, in order to be like a leading actor or actress,
right,
you really have to have charisma. I mean, anybody can be like a supporting, but I think this kid has potential.
No, yeah, he's got Antonio Banderas vibes.
Banderas, yeah.
Banderas vibes. Yeah, so the movie is basically about this kid that took a chance, went to school. He came back from school. He wants to help drag his family out of poverty. It's interesting because it's sort of set in what appears to be Miami, Florida, or something like. It's not Miami, Florida, but it's like a Miami, Florida.
I thought it was going to be Los Angeles. All right.
No, it's like a Miami sort of, and it's like a tourist town where you have all these big resorts and all that. Well, the people that work in the resorts are basically his family, and so there's a very nice dichotomy between the ritzy big resort areas and where Jaime and his family lives, and it shows that it shows the big differences between the working class and what you see on the outside, right?
Let me ask you the important question. How's Mexican Iron Man going to feel about this movie?
That's a great question. And if Mike is watching right now, I hope that Mike watches this movie and enjoys it. I think that if you are Mexican American, or let me reverse that. I've always hated that. American Mexican. If you are Hispanic, an American with Hispanic heritage, there is so much to like about this movie. I grew up with a lot of people that are exactly like this. Some of the jokes might be inside baseball if you didn't actually grow up in Santa Ana. In fact, I would say 15-20% of the movie is in Spanish with English subtitles. They don't, this isn't just a nod to Hispanic culture. There really is a lot of Hispanic culture in it, but it's not so excessive that it puts anyone on the outs. I think that if you're Hispanic, you will especially like this movie because you'll understand all the jokes, and it's very their family is so Hispanic. I have no other way to say that. They even
so you would think it would be a proud if you're Hispanic, you're going to appreciate it.
If you're an American Hispanic, if you come from here with Hispanic heritage and grew up in a Hispanic household, there's a lot to enjoy about this movie. If you didn't, you can still enjoy the movie. But there is some inside jokes about what they eat and certain things they say, and they mix Spanish with English sometimes. That's a very Hispanic thing, at least where I'm from.
Does someone throw a shoe at someone? Because that is key.
You mean a chacla? Yeah, a sandal.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Okay. Now it's a true Hispanic.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It was a really good movie. I enjoyed it. It's not Superman 1. It's not like one of those origin stories that you'll be talking about for the next 50 years. But it's.
Can you measure it up to the other superhero movies?
It's better than Shazam. Okay. I would say it feels a little bit like Iron Man 1 to me, in where it's introducing a character that you don't know, and by the end of the movie, you really want to know more about that character, 100%.
Compare it to the Marvel movies.
Oh, I would say, damn, if this was an Iron movie, I would be like, dude, Marvel's making a comeback. It has that vibe.
So it's better than Ant-Man and the Wasp, and better than all the Marvel movies.
Yeah, I would say better than anything that we've seen so far in the last phase of Marvel.
How about compared to the Flash?
It's hard. I actually think it's better than the Flash.
Okay, and you really like the Flash.
I like the Flash a lot because I love the Flash. I had no interest in Blue Beetle, and now I do. Oh, Black Adam?
Yeah.
It's probably better than Black Adam too.
Really? Okay, so guys, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I hate to admit that, but because like that feels like that was also an origin story, but it felt like the end of an origin story. This feels like the beginning.
The reason this is important, what Brian's saying right now, is the Blue Beetle is actually the first in the James Gunn movies.
Yes.
So that's a tone setter. So if it's better than everything what Brian's saying, then that is kind of a good sign for James Gunn movies. If this character is going to continue on in the new DC universe,
there's no baggage with this movie like there was the Flash, and there's no annoyance. Like even though I love the Flash, I love the movie because I love the character. I like what they did with it. I hated the graphics. But there was things I didn't like too. Like I didn't like how annoying Barry was at times. And I'm not talking about younger Barry. I'm talking about older Barry. Younger Barry, I felt did the best. I know it's the same actor, but goddamn, older Barry was annoying most of the time. Oh, younger Barry was supposed to be annoying, so it was fine. I don't like the way he runs, his facial things. There's a lot of things about the Flash I don't like. I was able to look past all that and enjoy the story. But with this movie, nothing about Blue Beetle is annoying to me. In fact, he's endearing, he's charming, he's heroic, he wants to do the right thing, but at the beginning he's not really capable of doing the right thing. And then he's given this capability to do the right thing, and that's when things change. The whole family comes together. It feels like, just like I was talking about before, that science fiction that felt inspiring. I got that here. My itch was scratched.
Okay, so you're saying it's the best superhero movie of the year?
Oh yeah, so far for sure. I did watch Across the Spider-Verse too, and I liked that movie a lot, but I hated the fact that there was no finality to it.
Well, it's a part 2 of a part.
Yeah, I know, but that left me thinking like,
wanting more.
I mean, less wanting more and like lack of a conclusion. Like they should have had some kind of soft conclusion.
Well, let's just take it from story alone. Now, one of the most impressive things about Across the Spider-Verse is how impressive really the artwork is, and the story is good. Right. Just story alone, how would you compare that to?
The first half is. The overall story is better than Across the Spider-Verse, but I gotta say, there was a lot of moments that felt sort of cheesy to me. But then again, I am very sensitive to cheese. I don't like cheesy stuff.
Now it's interesting. Don't give anything away if you can, but you said the first half, and you keep saying the first half. Yeah. What is it about the first half and the second half that's different in the movie? What is it?
The first half is the setup. The second half is when he's
the superhero stuff.
Is the superhero stuff. And the superhero stuff is a little paint by numbers, I would say, for superhero stuff, but throw in like typical superhero stuff, but now you also have like this family dynamic that really makes it special. And that's what makes it refreshing, is that there's typical superhero crap here in the second half, but with the family and that the added element of what's to come was really special. And I think it's Susan Sarandon. Is that her name? Susan?
Yep.
Yeah. So she's a really good villain. She is a villain that is a villain. And her motivation is very clear. She's not a great villain in the sense where you're like almost root for her, like you would other villains. But you like how clear her motivations are. And I like how evil she is. Like she is evil. She's not evil.
Comic book villain worthy.
Right, but not just to be evil. Like she's not, this is my dastardly plan because I want to be evil.
Right.
It's
She
more
has-
like I'm evil because I'm so selfish, and it feels almost like Waterworld, villain evil. That guy, Dennis Hopper.
yeah, he's trying to.
Well, like you never root for
conquer
him, but you definitely understand him.
Yeah.
You get
Okay.
it.
Well, good. That's well, you guys got it. So Blue Beetle, Brian gives it the thumbs up. I haven't seen it yet, but on that, it makes me want to see it more here in your review. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I think you guys go check it out. It's worth the time.
Excellent. And I'd like to get our next segue from Archmage Frey, who said Blue Beetle. And speaking of color, how about Snow White? Thanks, Archmage. That was great.
All right. So speaking of American Mexican who is not selling the project very well, you have Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler is playing Snow White and the seven Woodstock homeless people. I don't know how else to.
I mean,
the seven vagrants. Snow White and the seven vagrants.
Yeah.
Snow White and the seven vagabonds.
And it's funny. I thought that was going to be the disappointing part of this movie until she opened her mouth and started talking about it.
Right.
And then I come to realize that the worst part about Snow White is that it's not a Snow White movie. And I think we've talked about this before where, if you have a story, you can have your own take on it. Like a director can have their own take on a story, but it still must encompass the basic idea of what your story is about. A, B should still equal, A, B, and C should still be the narrative. If you want to change some elements in that to make it more interesting or more timely, I guess that's okay. But what they're talking about doing here is completely changing the story altogether, right?
Right. There's no Prince Charming. So when we were making the Barbie video, I watched that interview with Gal Gadot, Rachel Zegler, and
Right, yeah.
By the way, it's Gal Gadot. Why do people keep saying her? This is what I hear. I hear Gal Gadot, Gal Gadot, Gal Gadot. It's Gal Gadot.
You of all people should give a pass to everyone.
I don't know. It's okay. No, I get that. I'll give a random YouTuber a pass, but I'm not going to give like the guy at the New York Times a pass who's sitting there across from her.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Like you got to.
He should know. But hey, it happens. Listen, I love OMB reviews. He's one of my favorites, but he calls her Gal Gadot every second.
He does. Yeah, that's true. He does.
Love you, man. Love you.
Anyways, watching the interview was unhinged. That's the only word I can use.
And it's not just one interview. It's
everyone.
Now she's been on screen like 3 times talking about this, and it's like her entire goal is to her whole purpose is to say, we're not making your shitty Snow White movie, you mofos. We're just not going to do it. This is a new movie. And I got to tell you, I think the attitude isn't coming from Rachel Zegler, who, if you look at stuff she's done recently, is not bad. She did Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, and she was good in it. And the stuff she talked about on camera, away from it, wasn't strangely motivated the way it is. The only thing I can say is that the impact that Greta Gerwig has had on her seems to be impacting her in some way. And it's also seems to be bleeding over to Gal Gadot as well, who is not traditionally spoken this way about, in modern times.
Yeah, she's been really reasonable for the most part. And now all of a sudden she's like, I love how they're not going to make her a princess who needs a man to rescue her. You're like, what are you talking about? First off, like you're not getting the point of that story if you think it's all about a man rescuing a princess. Like this princess inspired the dwarves and inspired Prince Charming. She was the catalyst for change in the kingdom. And I'm not going to go deep into Snow White lore because I can really give a shit. But the fact that you feel it's necessary to completely cut out all the parts of that story that show any type of male heroics is beyond stupid. And then to promote it as such, it's so divisive, man.
So apparently we have been saying Gal's name incorrectly. So old Yorkshire Geek said she called herself Gal Gadot. And guess what? I just looked it up. So, hey, sorry, OMB Reviews.
Have I been saying it wrong?
It is Gal Gadot.
That's
is her name.
That's not what she said.
Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm going to send you something I want you to show everybody because we don't hide behind our mistakes here.
No, we do not.
Go ahead and play that for the audience so we can get this out and say, we're sorry, Gal. We've been saying
I've heard her say her name, though. In the Fast and Furious line. She said her name. Okay, here we go.
The tongue up, and that's about it. La, gal, gal. So it sounds a little lighter and a little shorter. Gal.
That's not Gal Gadot.
Gal. Then the last name is Gadot. Gadot. The beginning is very much the same.
Okay, so she's saying it in a completely different way than the 3 previous ways I mentioned.
She's Israeli, bro.
She's saying Gadot. Gadot.
That's the name.
So Gadot.
Same as in Gal.
Okay, so listen.
I can see your face right now. It's the rationalization of trying to make it Gal Gadot.
No. Because I've heard her say her name when Fast and Furious came out. Is when I first was introduced to Gal Gadot. And she literally said her name on that red carpet. I will find it, and there was a silent T. But Gadot.
Okay. Oh, here's one. She pronounces her name herself.
That's
Ready?
what I want to hear. Yeah.
Okay, here it is. I'm going to send you the link, guys. This is important podcast.
Yeah. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
We've been saying we have to know this correctly because as you haven't heard, she's going to be our Wonder Woman going forward.
Actually, that's not accurate either.
Oh.
So she did say that she was going to be the Wonder Woman coming forward. However, James Gunn and crew said that was not the case. So I don't know what's going on.
Should have talked about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on there. Someone said Wonder Woman's supposed to be still in. There's Wonder Woman 3. They're working on it. But James Gunn and Warner Bros. Was like, that's not accurate. We don't have any plans for Wonder Woman at this time. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
A lot of the people call me gal, like different variations, but I totally get it because it's hard to pronounce. But yeah, my name is Gal Gadot.
She did say it. Gadot.
It's Gadot.
I'm wrong.
Gadot.
I'm wrong.
2023.
Gadot.
All right, there it is. We know it's
after
Gal
10
Gadot.
years of saying Gal Gadot, it's Gal Gadot.
I need you to apologize on Saturday for me.
I want to apologize to all my fans.
No, just
especially OMD reviews for saying Gal Gadot's name wrong for all these years. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Play the next ad. Quick before I start crying. Well, we'll come back, and when the ad's done, I'll be crying.
You know, we should run an ad every 2 minutes in honor of the story you did earlier. Except, we can't.
Oh, we can't. We're demonetized. We can't do that. Gal Gadot, yeah, Gal Gadot Gate 2023.
Great.
It's actually Gal Gadorn.
So, and when we get things like that wrong, I know it's hard to believe us with everything else, but there has to be, and maybe we'll learn to find out. There's obviously, this underlying current of, and listen, I'm not saying that girls need guys. I'm not saying that. We should all work together. And if you don't want to be with a dude, then you shouldn't be with a dude. But why don't you just make it a new story then? Instead of calling it Snow White, call it,
they did that. Like when they called it they made the Snow White movie, but they called it like The Huntress or something like that. What movie was that? There was a movie that came out.
Except all the characters were like Snow White characters.
Yeah.
No,
it was called the Huntsman Winter's War.
Right, which is a terrible name for a movie. But you really just go make a new character, make a new Disney princess. Disney, let me ask you a question. I know why. I know the answer. The answer is it's going to make a whole lot more money if you can market Snow White. But the reality is you should just go make a new Disney princess who doesn't need a dude. Apparently, this Snow White's father talks about how being a great leader. So this Snow White's supposed to learn how to be a great leader so she can eventually lead her nation. So that's what this Snow White is going to be about. And look, that's fine. But that's not the Snow White story. So why don't you just make a new Disney princess, call her, I don't know, Rain Blue. And she lives in a society where the men are all castrated and hung up by their toes anytime they look at a woman in the face. And then, yeah, what do you think? Oh,
Yeah.
Frozen. Yeah, Frozen. There you go.
Yeah, that was Frozen, actually.
Although I think in Frozen, she liked the dude, didn't she?
In The Huntsman, that was the Twilight chick in Crimson with Kristen Stewart, I believe her name is. Species says just because she pronounced like that doesn't mean she's right. I mean, that's how she prefers it. Oh, here's Kristen Stewart. I'm Snow White. That movie also made no sense. So she was Snow White and Charlize Theron was the queen.
Yeah,
bro.
Once again.
What is this weird thing that Hollywood keeps doing by picking the clearly more attractive person to play what is supposed to be the less attractive character?
Yes,
canonically
right.
The less attractive character.
The queen should be a handsome woman, but Snow White should be hot.
No, Snow White should be like stunning. She should be like a porcelain doll. And if you can't find that, you don't pick Gal Gadot to be the queen. You don't pick.
Now you're saying it's like you're
Charlize Theron to be the queen if you have Kristen Stewart as Snow White. That makes. I'm not saying Kristen Stewart's ugly, but she's definitely not as attractive as Charlize Theron. That's for sure.
Fair enough.
It doesn't make no sense.
Unless you've seen her in Monster. She's one of those really good looking ladies who can look really bad. It's pretty crazy.
Dude, Charlize, she is crazy as a fox, but also just as attractive. She is nuts, though. Have you ever seen her speak? She's nuts. She's a nutty person.
All right.
Like a real nutty person. All right. To be fair, the queen in the original cartoon was also hotter than Snow White. Maybe that's what they're going for.
I don't know.
All right. Well, that's enough about Snow White. I don't know. Somehow we've talked about Snow White for 3 weeks in a row. I don't know if you noticed that.
It's worthy. It's going to be
really
a fantastic train wreck. It's going to be not fantastic. It's Disney does not get the message. I believe Disney is suffering from living in an echo chamber, as most of us are. But I can tell you that most of the people who are going to go see this movie are people who don't speak up, right? They're or who would have gone to see this movie are people who aren't going to go out and have an opinion on social media.
Okay.
So when you make a movie that is like, anti-dude, I guess. But look, Little Mermaid, I guess, made enough money. So maybe they're thinking the same thing for Snow White.
Maybe.
All I know is Disney's not doing well.
No, Disney.
Their stock price is pissing me off.
Their stock price is ruining me. It's ruining me. Oh my God. Like, this is the problem with having like half your portfolio be one company who you assumed was too big to fail. God.
Nothing's too big to fail. Well, I do believe that at some point when they've lost enough money, they'll eventually go, all right, we give up. Let's just do what Apple TV is doing. Apple TV, and I don't want to like keep going on about Apple TV. And at some point, we got to talk about Silo, right? Because hopefully you guys are a bunch of Silo fans out there. And if you're not watching Apple TV, you should, because Apple TV is giving us a cross section of society. For example, the show Invasion has a lesbian couple in that show, but it doesn't feel woke.
Right.
A Japanese lesbian couple, but it doesn't feel woke. That's the thing about it. It feels like just today. Like it feels like we're living in our culture like we're supposed to, where everybody's just like living freely and equally, and they're telling really good stories with these people. It doesn't feel like there's an agenda. And I'm sorry, like that's the way you do it. Like every studio out there, you need to go watch Apple TV, and that's how you should make all of your stories.
Right.
And then go out there and try to like find really interesting new story ideas. I mean, you think about it. Severance, Silo, Invasion, or go steal some old good ones, even though they're not doing a great job with Foundation. For All Mankind. These are very different ideas, different takes on science fiction and other shows. Even Mythic Quest, which I had watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then all of a sudden they got this episode that has nothing to do with the characters in the episode. And it was like a prequel or some crap.
Oh,
with
yeah.
a couple of really well-known actors.
Yeah, it's the one where, okay, so that's actually important to watch because it's talking about the history of the writer of the game.
Yeah, so I thought it was really cool because they're like rolling out this little story that's like, I'm like I could watch a whole show about what just happened.
Or you might be talking about the ones those people that were video game people inside that space before they were. Maybe.
Yes, that's the one.
That was good too.
And I'm like, that's cool. Like, it's just a new way of of doing television. And I don't know, like, if Apple's stupid or they're so hung up on their own products that they just can't get out of their own way. But I mean, get this shit in front of enough people, and I think people are going to come flooding to it. Mm-hmm. I tell Apple TV, look, square away this strike stuff as soon as you can, because you guys have just incredible content right now.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a lot of content too that's sitting in the can still too.
That's
so
cool.
They might have a while to go, but we'll see.
Invasion season 2 is coming out April or August 23rd.
Invasion what?
Season 2.
I've never seen the first one. What?
You should watch it. It's cool. It's actually about an alien invasion.
Oh wait, I think I have actually. Let me just make sure it's the right one.
Probably came out a year or 2 ago. That's why the second season's dropping.
Oh yes, I have seen that. Yeah, I didn't like it very much.
I liked it. It was scary. It was a little horror filled. The aliens are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, it didn't do it for me. You know what's funny is like people that search for Invasion also searched for Foundation, Silo, For All Mankind, Severance.
That's because they're all related. They're all science fiction.
Right, they're all science fiction, but they're also all dystopian, dark, emotional science fiction. Like I understand it might be well made, but it doesn't scratch the itch that I'm trying to scratch.
Yeah, it's a product of the times. You're just not going to have it. It's not the way our society is feeling right now. They're not going to make stuff like that. And that's why we're making the videos that we're making. That's why we're talking about because we miss it and we want it again. But I'm going to say that, even if it's not like hopeful, cheeky, Stargate SG-1 type of stuff, it is very thought provoking. It is very interesting. And, For All Mankind, with as slow as it is in some parts, the fact that it's creating an entirely different history than the one we've gone through in a very reasonable and realistic way is fascinating. I've never seen anything.
Are you willing to watch like 8 hours of content to get to that first aha moment? Because I don't think I am. I'd rather watch a movie.
It doesn't take that long. There's an aha moment in every episode.
I disagree. There's plenty of episodes where nothing important happens. That's just setting up the next episode.
Something happens every episode.
Well, something happens, but nothing mind blowing. That's for sure. You ever see that show Falling Skies?
I remember it. I never watched it.
So Falling Skies has that same. I remember watching Invasion and being like, "Why is this reminding me of something?" It reminded me of Falling Skies. Had the same vibe. And Falling Skies went on for like 5 seasons. So I'm assuming Invasion can go the same distance.
Well, and they've rolled it out very slowly. Like that first season, they roll the alien invasion out slowly. I mean, for the first several episodes, nobody even knows really what's happening. They're not sure if it's earthquakes or what's going on. And then they find out they're actually being invaded.
Yeah, they can slow roll it for sure.
Yeah. And I found it interesting. I wanted to keep watching it. I mean, nothing's been better than Silo, honestly. I binge watch Silo and I don't binge watch anything. So.
You ever watch that show V? The one where it's.
God, I loved V.
Yeah, so did I. Whatever happened to V?
It was dramatic. There was a whole. Well, it was
right, but there was like a resistance though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It wasn't like It wasn't like this is life now, deal with it. It was like there was like a resistance factor that felt like there was a chance we can take back the planet, you know?
Well, and they'll get there with Invasion.
Yeah, I'm
because
sure.
That's the point. I mean, and I think these characters are going to end up coming together at some point.
Yeah, you know, V only got 2 seasons, bro. That's criminal.
It was criminal. Yeah, V was a great show.
That's a bummer. Only got 2 seasons. Meanwhile, Fringe gets like 300 episodes. Come on.
I've tried watching Fringe.
I like Fringe a lot. I'm not downplaying Fringe. I'm just saying it didn't need 257 episodes.
I think it's a little dated for me. I don't know what it is. I like getting to an episode, but then it just drags in the middle somewhere, and I can't keep going.
Okay. Yeah, it's very interesting. I get a kick out of I really get a kick out of the shows that should have gone like clearly had legs and didn't get the chance to perform. You know, it's like what were they thinking when they go, you know what? This ain't working out. Was it the brass, the suit headed in for the creator? Was it a budget issue? Was it someone pitched something similar somewhere else? Or did they want to make the slot for something? There's so much nepotism that goes on in these studios that a lot of good TV shows, aka Firefly, gets really shafted. V got shafted. Clearly, a lot of these shows get shafted because they'd rather put something like wrestling or whatever in that slot. And it makes no sense because, like, is that going to make them more money, or is that because they're friends with that particular showrunner? You know?
Yes, and and all the above. The problem is that every situation is different. If you look at Star Trek Enterprise, it was getting better in its final season.
It was,
and it got pulled because Les Moonves hates Star Trek.
Right.
I mean, that was it. It could be as simple as that. They just don't like you. Firefly was put in a horrible time slot. And they knew it's the death time.
They knew it. Yeah, it was the death.
Yeah.
It was the death slot. They did that because they needed the numbers to go down so they can justify canning it.
Yeah, and so
that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, it's amazing how many projects actually ever make it to series.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the percentage, it's very small of projects that actually get there. And then when they get there, there's politics in everything that you do, including making TV shows.
Yeah, that's a bummer though.
I mean, think of Atlantis, prime example. Atlantis to Universe. The things we're learning now is that there was this feeling of wanting to do something new. Thank you, Battlestar Galactica. Because when they decided not to do, and they were given a choice, they couldn't do something new. So they ended Atlantis to do Universe because they had this idea to do something a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was Atlantis wasn't done yet.
Right. It wasn't.
It hadn't been completed, but there was kind of like this tiring. They'd done SG-1 for so long and Atlantis for so long. It's like they needed to shake up their creativity a little bit, I think.
Right.
And so it was a mistake. And that was a choice by the creatives. So
yeah, that's really unfortunate. Yeah, it was funny because like I'm watching like I said, I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was allowed to conclude. But even though I believe that the Marvel logo before that show was actually a detriment to its overall success, because a lot of people just tuned out the second Marvel popped up, because it wasn't a Marvel show. It didn't follow the universe. If you watched it because you wanted to be a part of Marvel, that's not what it was. It was a science fiction show. I think the reason it was allowed to conclude was because the massive amount of money that was put forth by Disney to ABC to finish it out. Not because it was successful, because I don't think it was in that sense. I think it was just because they had already signed a contract for this many seasons. And so that's what we got. So when you hear about like the Stargate people, like the Expanse people, they're like, look, I want 3 guaranteed seasons, this much money per episode. Like, why are they saying that? Well, now I sort of get it. They don't want to be the next Firefly. They don't want to. They want to have time to create their show and get a following. They don't want to just pop out a season and pray they might get a second one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you look at like a show like Heroes, right, which ran for 4 seasons. I was just like deeply into Heroes. when that came back out in the early 2000s.
Zachary Quinto's in that. He's pretty good.
He is great in that. And it was just a really great show. It was about basically people becoming superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, but it got canceled before its time. And,
right.
No one really knows exactly why. But, everything has its reason. They want to move on to something else. People get too expensive. There's so many different reasons.
Right. All right. Well, let's move on, man.
All right.
I don't even know what we were talking about before we went on this tangent, but it felt good.
Snow White.
What?
Snow White.
Oh, Snow White. That's right. So let's figure out a good segue for this.
What are we going to now?
I'm trying to figure out a segue. Ready? There's no way to segue this without looking like an asshole. So I'm gonna switch it up. I'm not gonna segue to that. I'm gonna segue to this. Ready? There's no way to segue this. All right, next topic. We're talking about robotic self-driving cars.
We are?
Yes. Okay. Because this is hilarious.
I'm leaving.
First off, they approved self-driving cabs. And they're doing this rollout.
Wait, okay. Give us more information on this. What do you mean?
So I'll tell you what. San Francisco, just one day after it received state approval to expand driverless cars without limits in San Francisco.
And let me tell you, I've driven down those San Francisco streets recently, and homeless people just like walk in the middle of them. So there's bad things are coming, just letting you know.
Witnesses said there was about 10 driverless cars paralyzed on 2 narrow streets. It makes me feel horrible because people can die, blah, blah, blah. Here's the funny part about it. These driverless cars, people are calling them the way you would call a cab, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't work right, it will take them to their destination, but then never stop and just keep driving. And now this person is locked into this car and he's banging on the windows trying to get people's attention because the car has seemingly no destination, and he's just like, I don't know what to do. So
how weird is it going to be to get into a car like with no driver?
Yeah. So this guy, there was one guy that was literally had to call the company several times and deal with like the whole like getting through the call center thing to get to someone after an hour and a half of being stuck in the back of this car. And they stopped it so they can get out. Well, another documented incident is people calling the cars, giving it a random destination, and then hooking up in the car. So there's a bunch of people having sex in the cars. They're using them like cheap motels.
You knew that was the first thing people were going to do.
Of course.
There's nobody to watch.
Of course. Yeah. So Tracy just says, I would have jumped in the front seat and started driving, except for there's a glass between the back. It's like literally being trapped.
It's a death trap, dude. Imagine if that car decides to just go off a cliff.
Right. So another thing was because there was like a concert in San Francisco, the wireless stopped working on a lot of these cars.
Oh, God.
Because there was so much traffic, people trying to go to the same place, that the cars just kept circling each other, and people were like.
So this is a real thing. There's actually cars out there driving without people in them.
Yes. And
I did not know we've gotten this far. Honestly, I'm going to be honest here for a second. I did not know that we had gotten this far.
Oh, I knew it. I was waiting for it to come here.
Really?
Yeah,
this is the first time hearing of it. I'm totally following everything Tesla's doing. And
right.
This is the first I've heard of. Okay, I got to pull this shit up.
Right. I can't wait to test it out. So here's another thing too. Apparently, you can put
Tesla's still in beta. How is this possible?
You can put a yellow traffic cone on the hood of any one of those cars, and because of the sensors, it will see the yellow and it will just stop and never go. And the person that's in the back of the car can't get out to fix it. So you can effectively hold someone hostage by simply putting a yellow. Excuse me, 1 second. Who's hello?
This is.
I'm in a show right now. Go. Please go around the back. Jesus. I'm sorry, guys. I it's not like I don't do a show every single Thursday.
What was somebody's locked out?
Family members, dude.
Ah.
So there's been reports of people like teenagers who think it's hilarious when the car is at a light to just put a traffic cone on the top of the hood of the car and then run away, and now the car can't move, and there are people in the back of the car just stuck there.
Oh my God, no, really? This is crazy.
It's
You're right.
really funny.
How did we not know this is going on? I must be. See, I'm stuck in my own little bubble, I guess. I did not realize this was happening.
I love this one. I was warning people because people from out of town did not know these cars had no drivers in them. I was screaming that out my window.
What were they screaming? There's no driver.
There's no driver.
Like they got in the car thinking it was a taxi and there's no one there and the taxi takes off.
I'm sorry, orange traffic cones, not red or yellow. I apologize, Archmage. Orange, whatever, same color.
Where are you? How do you tell them where you're going? Like, how does it work?
It's like an app. It's like Uber.
Huh.
So like imagine if you sign up for this app or whatever, and you say, I want to go here, pick me up here. And when it gets there, you probably scan your phone or whatever, and you get in. And then you're trapped forever.
Well, the thing that has me confused, okay, is that the Tesla driverless, like self-driving cars are in beta testing.
Right.
Like they're not allowed. I mean, this is the most advanced, self-driving vehicle out on the market.
Right.
Okay. And they're still in beta, and you have to have somebody sitting behind the wheel.
Right.
In order to operate without hands-free.
That's correct.
What the fuck is going on in San Francisco? There is no way those robo-taxis are further along than Tesla.
They are. Apparently they're, I don't know how far along they are, but I do know this. They got approved for an actual real world rollout in San Francisco with a no limit rollout.
Okay. Can I?
In one of the hardest cities in the country to navigate.
Right. No, okay. So let me give you some of the headlines here. San Francisco robotaxi traffic jam is a warning to the world, says city official. San Francisco begs California to pause robotaxi infestation. San Francisco asks California regulators to halt approval of expanded robotaxis. Like the people in San Francisco are freaking the fuck out. They're freaking out. They're attacking San Francisco. This can be a movie.
Bro, I love this. Robotaxis are good for disabled people, as advocates say, but there isn't a single vehicle that allows use of a wheelchair. There's
only disabled people that can walk to the car.
There's no robo buses. There's no way for someone who has this disability to use it. They have to be able to get to the car first. Like a lot of the reasons for a robotaxi, to be honest, these are all bad reasons. Like it's not a good idea. Not because they trap people forever in the back of the car, or because they can be held hostage by an orange cone, or because maybe they would just kill a dog that's too small for its sensor to see, or a person that wasn't paying attention. Those are all real reasons to consider. I will give you the most important reason, outside of killing a person, the most important reason that robo-taxis are a bad idea. We don't need them. Okay. We do not need driverless taxis. We don't. There is a plethora and an entire workforce of people who have chosen to drive you from A to B for a very reasonable amount of money.
Amen, dude.
You do not need to replace those people who are already making bottom dollar with a robot car that can trap you in perpetuity. I'm sorry.
I mean, listen, progress is important, okay? And I will say progress is important, but if Tesla's vehicles are not approved for auto driving without somebody behind the wheel, how is this? We need to dig deeper. Something's wrong here.
Makes no sense.
Only in California, people. Only in California.
California's nuts. Here, I got video of robotaxis.
Can we see a video? Can you show something?
Days after getting expansion approval around San Francisco, robo-taxis are again drawing attention, this time for causing a traffic mess. KTVU's Tom Bakar joins us live from San Francisco, and Tom, Cruise is blaming the Outside Lands Festival for the problem.
What does Tom Cruise have to do with it? That was so weird.
Tom Cruise says robo-taxis are great. All hail Scientology.
Things like that. But one of these days,
all right, come on, get to the
just the
robo-taxis.
way today, the Cal taxis are loose on the streets of San Francisco.
So look. Look at the robotaxis.
Look at this guy's face.
Look at this regular guy is trying to like navigate around this robotaxis. Oh my god, this is so fucking stupid. Look at this. They're just stopped with their hazards on. They don't know what to do.
Is there somebody back there? Are they locked in the car? That's what I want to know. Can you get out?
Someone tell my wife I'm alive. Does anyone have water? Someone help! The windows are locked. There's like this guy in the back just like
show the picture I just sent you.
Oh my god, bro. God, this is the funniest thing. I needed this so bad.
They call it the HAL 9000.
This is exactly what I picture when I read that story. Where to next, Dave?
Where to next, Dave? 2031, a San Francisco Odyssey.
Listen, I cannot wait to get in the back of one of these suckers. I almost took a trip to San Francisco just to use one.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't even tell me this stuff.
I hope I get hurt and I can sue the company.
That's your whole goal, is to make, you want to make millions of dollars so you can sue it?
We got a tip from Michael Nemo again on, listen, you guys can tip too. Streamlabs.com/thepopcast live. Link is in the pin to the chat and it's at the top of this page. Thank you, Michael Nemo. He says, hey, Brian, I'm outside, hands full of groceries. Can you let me in, please?
Wait, who's that Michael Nemo?
I think he's just messing with us.
Oh, that's great.
That's good, Mike.
You know we do shows every Thursday, Michael Nemo.
You're here most of the time.
I'm going to take the call on the air and humiliate you in front of all of my fan base. Pray to God you never watch it.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to. That's really funny. Yeah, so I got nothing more to say on this, but I think I just thought it was so funny because these shouldn't exist. There is absolutely necessity is the mother of all invention, right?
Right. So they're doing it because they can, not
right.
Because, and listen, progress is important, but it is taking away jobs. Do we want McDonald's to automate the entire process and have people get rid of their jobs? I mean,
do you want to go to McDonald's and argue with a kiosk about extra cheese on your hamburger?
Well, this is the thing. It's never good for the customer. Like, these upgrades are never good for the customer. If you go to like Disneyland now, they're trying to get rid of like all their people. You have to do everything by an app. You can't even eat food. You can't even go up and just order food. You have to order food through an app. Then you go to the window during your time. Like, everything is about you having to do it. Like, all the concessions are made by us.
Right. Which is
like, it's the
which
work
is exactly
is not being
why
done by the consumer.
You're right. Which is exactly why every time I am forced to use self-checkout at a goddamn grocery store, every single time, there's about $3 worth of items that I don't scan.
Now, you keep saying this in live streams.
Yeah. I don't know. I will admit it. I will admit it.
That you're stealing from grocery
every single time. There's at least one bag of chips that just scrolls past. And you want to know why, motherfucker? Because I'll tell you why. I just spent an hour and a half at your grocery store. It is not my job to both scan and bag my goddamn products. If you want me to do it, you're gonna pay for it. Even if it's a $3 or $4 bag of chips.
So if you guys don't see Brian next week on the show, you'll know exactly why. I'll be getting him out of jail.
No, I will admit that. Plus, I understand also that there is no legal precedent to arrest me at this time. I could be completely joking and playing a character. You wouldn't even know, would you?
Good idea saying that. Now, what does frustrate me about grocery stores is every time I go up, they say, would you like to donate $5 to this cause or that cause? Now,
no! No, I don't! I don't even know what this cause is! You were asking me in front of other people to give you my money. I don't even know what the hell this charity does. How dare you? How dare you, Elizabeth? F you and the horse you ran into. I'm not giving you a penny. In fact, if I could, I would reach in here and take money out.
Yeah, there's a lot of stealing going on here. Okay?
Jesus.
Well, what I say to them is, and Brian, that's a good speech. I see that.
How dare you?
But what I usually tell them is, I say, listen, no, I'm not interested. And I don't really care who's near me because I don't care what I say. But what I say is, no, I'm not interested. And in fact, why don't you have Vaughn's go ahead and donate to this cause on my behalf? Because I just shopped here. Why don't they take a little portion of the money I just spent here at your store and have them donate to the charity? Instead, having me give my money, extra money, more than I spent here, so that Vaughn's can donate to the charity on behalf of Vaughn's.
Right.
Vaughn's gets a tax write-off.
They get a tax write-off.
They get a tax write-off on the money I donated to charity.
Yeah, F you.
Let me tell you, it's bullshit.
It is.
You do not, none of you feel compelled. And now listen, if you want to give to charity, that is totally up to you.
Go for it, whatever.
But you can give to charity and you get credit for it as opposed to your local business getting credit for it. Totally up to you.
You don't even know if they're giving all that money to charity. You don't know what their rules are. Like they can say like, well, we give up to this amount or this percentage because we need a percentage for the plastic boxes. You don't know all the details. Which is why it's stupid to give to any charity you haven't properly vetted, and it's really dumb to give to a charity third party because you have no idea. No, I'm serious. You don't have no idea what their rules are.
Well, true. Well,
like legitimately, McDonald's used to do that charity thing with that little plastic box that was outside. Do you know that only half that went to the charity because the other half until the massive pushback, the other half was maintaining the boxes.
That's funny.
Bro, what are you maintaining? It's a plastic box.
I know.
And then here's one more thing that I hate. I don't know how this turned into this, but when they go, would you like to round up for charity? I'm sorry, what? Round up? No, I would actually like to round down for charity.
Yeah, I was going to say round down and give that extra money to charity and say, thank you.
Round up. Hey, your total is $9.13. Would you like to round up? F you.
Yeah, well, here's one.
Round it out to $9. Yeah.
Wait, would you like to round up for the kids? This is what they say. Would you like to round up for the kids? And I'm like, I look at them dead in the face and I say, I hate kids. No, absolutely not. And they look at me like I'm crazy. But I mean, I don't have any other pushback. This is what I got. I have to pay for bags. The whole world's going crazy. Anyways,
the Trek reviewer says I used to work as the front door person at a wholesale club, and we were told to watch out for people like Brian using self-checkout.
To look out for guys like you, right?
See, I made a job. See, people like me guaranteed a position was filled.
It's called security.
Yeah,
and you're really pushing the envelope there. I love this comment here. Also, who put it? It was Yeah, Archmage says it. My favorite is when they say the screen is going to ask you a few questions when they're really just asking for a tip. And you know what? That happens when they do that to me, like Starbucks. I'll go through Starbucks and it'll be like, oh, if you can just answer the question on the screen, and I'll look at them and say, do you want a tip? Would you like me to tip you? Oh, sir, we can't ask for a tip. And I'm like, you're asking for a tip by shoving the screen in front of my face. Would you like a tip?
Right.
Now, usually I give them a tip because I've put them through hell. And it's not their fault. They're being told to do it. But I hate the fact that somebody puts a little tip cup next to a fucking window when you're going through a drive-through and they're literally handing you your food. Am I supposed to tip you for handing you? Do you guys know why tips exist? Do you want to know why tips exist?
Yep.
Because back in the day when you would go to a restaurant and you get served, right? You didn't go up to the counter to get your food. Somebody would come to a table and give you food. You would tip that person. And if you didn't tip that person, the people that they worked for were taking those tips and making it part of their wages anyways. And so you were fucking them if you didn't tip them. So it became a thing where we tipped. Okay. Well, guess what, America? It's gotten out of control.
It is.
Tip for fucking handing me my coffee.
No, yeah.
Okay?
You're not getting a tip. You're not getting a tip for, okay, this is what drives me nuts. When there isn't even a person involved.
No wonder we're demonetized.
There isn't even a person involved and there's a tip option. Drives me absolutely batty.
Would you like to tip? You're taking it out of a vending machine.
Like, what am I tipping?
Would you like to tip for? Yeah, it's not great.
It's nuts. I know we sound like old cheap bastards.
No,
but this is happening everywhere. It's like a nonstop thing. You can't get around it. And the nickel and dime factor is honestly, it's giving me like an early stroke. My blood vessels are constricting. I'm just sitting here wondering where the hell $27 went with the one, burger and fries combo that I bought. Like, where does this money go? I don't get it.
It goes to pay for those wages. I like Kenneth LaRoque's comment here. The guy with 5 kids waiting with him. He hates kids. I've done that, Ken, multiple times with my kids standing with me. And they've asked me when I said I hate kids. One time my wife smacked me. It's pretty funny. I'm like, I'm sorry. They need to know the truth.
Look, here's the problem.
Stop asking me for money.
I believe tipping is a good thing when you got service that you felt was worthy of a tip.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Tips should not replace wages. If we have to tip in order for you to get a living wage, then the business you're working for is screwing you. Like, that is wrong. A waiter should not make under minimum wage because of tips. Like, we took something. Sometimes capitalism is out of control. They took something that was a wholesome thing where people can give extra money to their server who was kind or helpful, whatever. They took that and they go, oh, you're getting extra money? I'm going to pay you less.
Well, yeah, and that's the way businesses operate. So, unfortunately, it's part of the problem is if you don't have a good company who pays their employees well, you end up with situations like this. That's how we ended. Everybody who's a server pretty much makes minimum wage plus tips,
right?
Because people leave tips. I mean, listen, if you go get your hair cut, they expect a tip. Why? Let me ask you a question. Why the fuck are you tipping somebody cutting your hair when that's like their whole job is to cut your hair the way you want it cut?
Well, I do tip my hairdresser or barber or whatever it is.
Right. But
why? When I feel like they did like a good job. But I have
no. They're supposed to do a good job.
I understand that.
What you're hired them to do.
Yeah, but I have also left without tipping.
And the consequences the next time I come are not good.
No, I just made sure when next time I went to Sports Clips, I unchecked Andrea, whoever it was, from being on the list of people who are allowed to cut my hair because she doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
Incentivizing it. Oh, so what we should do is we should put a big tall stack of like $20 bills on the table, right? And you stack it all up really high. And when they come and if they give you bad service, you go right in front of them. You just take the dollar off. And there's one you're not getting, buddy. Oh no, not getting that one.
That's so rude.
Hey, listen, you bring that food faster.
Listen, one time I didn't. No? This is actually like a month ago. I didn't tip because like the guy shaved like half my hair. And I'm like, bro, who told you to do that? Who told you to take a clipper to the sides of my head?
Pay for the so the difference is like you shouldn't pay him for the haircut if he screws it up. It's
you got a point.
What I'm saying is you don't give him a tip for doing a good job. Everybody should do a good job. And then if they go above and beyond, how about this? Let's say they say, hey, man, you mind if I just wash your hair really quick? Because you fucked up and didn't wash it before you came. Now it's disgusting and now I have to put my fingers in it. And you're like, oh, okay, sure. Give them a tip. They went above and beyond.
Right.
Don't give them a tip because I'm sorry. And there are some people in the comment section, which I appreciated, who from other countries, it's offensive to give a tip.
Is it
America
really?
has done this. The handout is created here. So.
Yeah, we got a super chat from Michael Nemo at streamlabs.com/the Popcast Live.
And by the way, Michael Nemo is the stream hero. Thank you, Michael Nemo. You are in the left-hand corner.
And he said tipping came about in the 1800s when they wanted to avoid paying black labor a wage. Really?
No, that's interesting.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
That's a good story.
Yeah, we should look that up.
I am.
I want to know that too. I don't even know how we got on tipping. What were we talking about?
It says here.
What were we talking about?
Wealthy Americans, we were talking about like going to the grocery store and talking shit. And it turned into this thing. Wealthy Americans discovered it for themselves in the 1850s and 1860s while traveling in Europe. Tipping in Europe was born in the Middle Ages, a master serf custom where servants would receive an extra gratuity for excellent performance. American travelers brought it back to the States as a way to feel aristocratic.
Oh, this says the claim tipping became popular in the United States. This is from USA. Tipping became popular in the United States because restaurant owners didn't want to pay black workers after ratification of the 15th Amendment. And according to this, the ruling is up in the air. So it's true, but it requires more context. Tipping in America began before the Civil War, but afterward, it is true that employers of specific restaurant industry, railroads, etc., used the practice of tipping as a way to keep wages low. Formerly enslaved black people worked in many of those jobs. It came over in the 1850s, which is before the Civil War. So it probably, I mean, no doubt, if you're going to have this ability to like say, look, I'm not going to pay you more because somebody else is giving you money, I totally see that happening. It's just, it's kind of a bullshit thing. Yeah, apparently there was a tip credit too. It's like apparently servers can get paid less than minimum wage because of tips. That's bullshit. That's bullcrap. Well, because tips are supposed to be included in your wage. It's become a thing. That's bullcrap. It should not be an expectation. No. And unfortunately, if you don't tip somebody, you go to a restaurant and you don't tip. And by the way, if I get really crappy service and like you don't ever come to my table and check on me, I won't tip you. So like if I feel like I'm neglected over there, I'm not going to tip you. But if you come and you do a really good job, I'll tip more than 20%. So you know, because I feel like the restaurant is the place where the tip should not be part of the cost. Like either you build the cost of the items, the cost into the items so that the people can get a fair wage, and then tipping is a gratuity, it's an extra, but the poor waitress, waiter, whatever, should not have to bear the brunt of maybe or not she gets paid or he gets paid correctly. Well, that's crazy. I found out last year, we went to the same restaurant, the kind where they cook in front of you. Teppanyaki. Yeah, we went to the same. We've been going to the same one for 10 years. And I just found out last year that they had been including the gratuity all these years. Really? And I happened to factor in the meals, and I'm like, this seems like too much. And I always left a tip. And I asked them, I'm like, why does this seem like it's too much? And they're like, oh, tip is included. Well, it's always included for 6 or more people. But it shouldn't be. Right. I agree. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Yeah. You're still paying for every one of the dishes. Right. By the way, when it comes to teppanyaki, you force people to tip. You never include your tip with the check. You give your tip to the chef. If you leave your tip inside the little billboard or whatever they give you, and the chef's got to share it with 5 other people. and
Well,
none of them served you the way he did.
Well, apparently that what you said got around because now they're putting it in the bill. So you can't tip anymore.
So our family is a teppanyaki family. We've been going to the same teppanyaki place since we were young. In fact, when that place closed down, we followed the chefs that we used to work at our original place to this new place. So we like specific people that are chefs at these places, and we've been doing it since we were married. And I always hand $10, $15 or whatever directly to that guy. And I make sure that he gets it, even if it's built in somewhere else. Because like the only reason I'm there, specifically the only reason I'm there, is because that guy. I don't like anyone else. All right.
Well, on that note, we've had a lot of fun today.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to go to the member section.
It's time to go to the member section. You're right. I don't even know how we got here. We're going to the member section.
Fun. So, did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys enjoy this kind of like free rolling thing here at the end?
We're going to be talking a little bit about the Maui wildfires in the member section. Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be talking about how Oprah
bought a bunch of land,
is involved in these fires.
I know that's not what I'm talking. That's not what I'm talking about.
No, I'm going to talk about it in the member section.
You can talk about what you want, but what I want to bring,
I'm like, what?
What I want to bring up is the fact that climate change has nothing to do with the Maui wildfires. And here's the most important part about it. Everyone telling you otherwise is hiding the real problem. Okay? That's what I want to talk about. They're hiding.
Oprah Winfrey? Wait,
I'm not saying it's Oprah.
Problem, Oprah?
I'm not saying it's Oprah. I'm saying that it's dirty, though, when the New York Times posts an article that says climate change had nothing to do with Maui wildfires, and the next day, after they get a phone call from the administration of this country, changes it to probably didn't have anything to do with it. I think it's dirty. I think it's dirty that journalists are taking their talking points.
Are you surprised?
From the government. And I think it's dirty for anyone to try to minimize the Maui wildfires by saying it's a climate change issue, because it's not. We were going to talk about that in the member section. I'm sorry to leave you hanging here. If you got blue balls on this topic, I apologize. You got to come over. We would like to, at least, we would like 5 members. It would be awesome.
Listen, just think of it as a tip. So like it's $2.99. It's a tip. Come on over to the member section.
It's like a tip.
You know why? You know why nobody donated members today? You wanted 5 new members, right? But there's no way to donate.
There's no way to donate. You can only okay. So when I say I would like new members, we can't obviously get donations,
right?
But I would like 5 people that aren't members
to actually go sign up
to come on over.
Can you tell them how to do that?
Why do I always got to be the one that does it?
Honestly, because I don't know.
Because I knew it.
I don't even know how to become a member of my own channel.
Yeah, so. I get that. Okay, it's real simple, my friends. I'm actually going to put the link right here in the chat. That's the link to the member section. Yes, it's another channel. We have 2 channels, in case you didn't know. We have the Popcast Prime and this channel, the Popcast Unleashed. In the Popcast Prime,
disastrous Barbie movie video is.
We spend another hour there, and it is completely uncensored, totally unhinged, and sometimes there's nudity. I'm just going to be honest. Sometimes there's nudity. It's a total freak show in the members section where we talk about whatever we want, because that's the one place we know they can't find us.
They can actually. What's hilarious is we just think we're hiding, but they see everything.
So the link is in the chat, and it's also in the very first link at in the description of this live stream. And if you do absolutely nothing, if you just stay here when we end this, you stay here, stay on this page, don't move. Don't leave. Don't do anything. Don't do shit. Just wait. You're going to see something pop up, and it's going to say, you are being redirected. And it's going to redirect you to the members section. Now, when you get there, it's going to say this is a members only video or members only stream, and you're going to have to click on sign up and give us a cup of coffee. And if you do, you have no idea how much we appreciate it. Yep. We are so poor right now. Come on over and support us. We lost a ridiculous amount of members during that stupid Barbiegeddon thing. It's dumb. When I saw how many members we lost, I thought it was a mistake. I was shocked. Anyways, come on over, my friends.
It can never be a mistake when you have your integrity in place.
That's true. Again, we are about to get unhinged, uncensored, and undressed talking about the Maui wildfires. Oprah is a lizard person who actually caused the fires. Bet you didn't know that. And a bunch of other really fun stuff, including what we're doing next on the Prime channel. We got some really cool stuff coming up with the Mysteries channel. And we're going to talk about all that, but only if you're a member. If you can't come over, we get it. We understand. We totally understand. We probably couldn't afford it right now either. But that's cool. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, we'll see you in the member section. We love you so much. Have an awesome day.